How we doing, everybody? And welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back on a Friday night. I would say it's a great Friday, a great Black Friday, as they call it. But yeah, we watched that Badger game earlier. And that was about, I'm glad. Honestly, I was complaining about the start time for that and that it was on a Friday and everything like that. I'm glad we got it out of the way. If that's what it was going to look like, no matter if it was on Saturday or a Friday, if it had been on Wednesday, I don't care. We got it out of the way. It's done. It's over with. The season is, essentially done and over with at this point here. I don't know if we're going to get in some academic bowl or whatever the heck you want to call it out there. But, just a Debbie Downer, right? We watched the Packers get a big win over the Dolphins on Thanksgiving night. I was through the roof. I was like, okay, now all we got to see is this Badger football team, right? This Badger football team come to play on Friday for the Axe, the rivalry, right? Yeah, well, we saw what happened there. So it was ugly. It was ugly all the way around. Nobody with me tonight here so far. Aaron is supposed to be here at some point. He got in a little fender bender, I guess. He was on his way home, got in a little fender bender. The lady is a little bit crazy, I guess. And right now he's on the phone with State Farm. I don't know. He's on the phone with Jake from State Farm right now, wearing khakis there at 8:17 Central Time right now. So we'll see if wants to talk about day here. That was ugly. Just ugly. I don't know what else to say except for that game. That game is what this season was in a nutshell. That game is what we felt all season long in a nutshell. So we're going to get into that today. We're going to talk about the Packers-Dolphins game because there's a lot of good that came out of that. A lot of players actually stepping up in bigger roles in that game. So I want to talk about that Packer game today. Badger's going to be in action tomorrow against Chicago State. Badger basketball's back. Thank the Lord, right, for Greg Gard. I didn't think I would say that ever. I never thought I would say thank you for Greg Gard, because right now, out of the two major, I guess, volleyball has been fantastic. Women's hockey's been fantastic. There's Badger programs are doing great right now, right? But the bigger one, football, has stunk. And between football and men's basketball, those are two places, for Wisconsin that I love to talk about, love to watch. And just thank you to Greg Gard for making us feel a little bit better in this time, because man, oh man, it's watching this football team right now, watching this effort today was bad. It really hurt. So I want to get to that game here in a minute. I see I got a comment coming in about that game. I want to get to that game in a minute here. I told Aaron I would hold off on it for a minute here. We'll talk about that Badger game against Chicago State coming up tomorrow here. Hopefully, right? Chicago State coming to this one. I believe they're 0-8 on the season so far. They have struggled. They have struggled to start this season. They lack an identity, right? The Chicago State team does. And last season, they had a couple good guards. I think they were brothers or twins or something like that came in there. And this season, they just don't have a lot going for them early on here. Struggling to find the basket, struggling to find any kind of rhythm. They're actually, I believe, in the Ken Pom ranking, they're ranked like 360th in points per 100 possessions or something like that. It's just terrible numbers across the board. I believe that's what I saw. Yes, they 91.8 points per 100 possessions. So that's good for 360th in the Ken Pom ranking. And they're also 113 points per 100 possessions. That ranks them in the 338. So they're sitting plain and for Chicago State. Not a lot of size, not a lot of score, where you take care of your business on your home court. You just came off of a very good tournament in the Greenbrier, and you took care of Pitt late in that one. You got a big win against UCF, a couple of good wins on your schedule there already, along with that Arizona game. Now you take care of this one, because you got to take care of this. You're going to set yourself up for that game against Michigan that you're going to be coming up here. I believe Michigan is right after Chicago State, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to double check. Yes. They will play Michigan on the 3rd. So you get this game against Chicago State, keep your winning ways going, and then you go take on Michigan there at the Kohl Center before you will travel to take on Marquette. So set yourself up well going into that. Don't allow some Chicago State team to come into the Kohl Center and take it over, right? Badger fans cannot handle if Wisconsin men's basketball loses to Chicago State. We just can't handle it. We can't handle it at this point. It has been too much of a disaster up until now with the football team. I cannot handle this men's basketball team falling off a cliff to a team like Chicago State. I mean, knock on wood, they take care of their business. It's all good from there. So Wisconsin, Chicago State, that's going to be a 12 o'clock game tomorrow there, I believe. Do they have? It's on Peacock. Of course it is, right? Of course it's on Peacock. That's a place you got to go to watch any great game these days, I guess, is on Peacock. So the Badgers be on there. Favored right now, ESPN has them as a 99% favorite to win that game. So if the odds are stacked in our favor, maybe we'll pull one out. So hopefully Badgers men's basketball in action tomorrow at noon there. But we might as well just get to the ugly, right? We might as well get to the ugly. And over on Facebook there, Pat Meyer there, he says, that game is the very reason Fickell needs to go. And I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that point there. And I know there's a lot of Badger fans, and myself included, who have been in that same boat, right? I mean, PJ Fleck was rolling the boat straight over top of us there in Camp Randall for that game. So that stunk. That stunk. And to say that, I mean, you know what? To see Minnesota come into Camp Randall and just win every facet of this game, to play more physical, to play faster, to look like they wanted it more than the Badgers in a rivalry game, in the Axe game, right? You are now trophyless. The trophy case is empty. It's empty. You lost to Nebraska. You lost to Iowa. You now lost to Minnesota. You lost those 3 big games. Those are the big games, right? I know Oregon's on the schedule. You had Penn State on the schedule. I get that. You had 2 big games right there. But that game against Oregon didn't mean that much to me. Yes, if the Badgers would have won it, great. I would have been ecstatic, right? It would have been the signature win for Luke Fickell that he was lacking, right? That would have been the signature win. He didn't get it. That game against Penn State had him on the ropes up until the fourth quarter. Then, well, your offense, not able to move the football, let you down. Same with that Oregon game. I get of the fact that we lost. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's as much to the fact to me that we lost. It's the way that the Badgers lost, right? I know I'm saying a lot of we's there. It's the way that the Badgers lost that I think hurt the most. Because you as a game, I know you go to Iowa. It's a tough place to play. I'm not going to say that Iowa is the easiest place to travel to play everything like that. But you go to Iowa and you lose 42-10. 42-10 to Iowa. And they beat you by playing your game. Not your game now, but your game from the past, right? Ground and pound, right up at you. You knew what they were going to do before they ran the play. And yet they still beat you. Nebraska, they struggled all season long. And Nebraska goes and beats you 44-25. 44-25. And now Minnesota walks into Camp Randall and they walk out with a 24-7 win where you were never in that game. I could have shut that game off in the second quarter and been fine. I wouldn't have missed anything, right? Made false hope when the Badgers were driving one time that, hey, something was going to happen. It's this game. Excuse me there. This game needed to happen. It needed to happen that way because this season could not have ended any better way for the Badgers. Honestly, it couldn't have. Because you watch this team, what was the fitting ending, right? What was the fitting ending for this team, this program, this season? That game against Minnesota, where PJ Fleck came in wearing his sunglasses, where it's not even sunny outside. He's wearing his sunglasses down the sideline, looking like PJ Fleck does. And he just tosses you. He tosses you. He gets his boys up. They're ready to rock. They come into the Camp Randall, and they just own you. They just own you in every facet, in the trenches, running the football, right? I mean, how do you win? I don't even, you know what? I took a screenshot of the halftime stats today. The halftime stats. I don't even think I should have because this hurts to even look at. You are averaging 0.4 yards per rush. 0.4 yards per rush in this game. Why are you losing 14-0? I couldn't even tell you. 0.4 yards per rush, right? 14 rushing attempts, and you average 0.4 yards. You had 6 yards rushing going into that halftime. Looking at your third down efficiency, you're 2 for 8. 2 for 8. You had 37 yards through the air. You had 43 yards in total at the half against Minnesota in a game where you had to come out and play, which makes me go back to, earlier on this season, they were 5-2, right? And at 5-2, you're like, we need one win. One win, we're bowl eligible, right? We're feeling good. And then you get to this. You're not even bowl eligible when it's all said and done. You're not even there. You're not even in a crap bowl, right? We made fun of all the bowl games the Badgers were in over the years, right? The Duke's Mayo Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl, right? They're all just jokes. Now look. Now where are we? Nowhere. And right now we're teetering. I don't even know if we haven't hit rock bottom as a program at this point. If the Badgers haven't hit rock bottom, I don't know where rock bottom is. Is it Purdue? Is Purdue rock bottom? Because we're getting there. Trust me, we're getting there. We'll get there at some point. This is just, to say that the Badgers were 5-2 at one point this season, and look where they're at now. Wow. Just wow. And, in the comments there, Pat comes back with the alarming part is the lack of identity, both offensive and defensive. I agree 100%. And, we sit here and we blame Phil Longo and we blame Tressel and we blame this and we blame that. And I agree. I agree 100%. But why did we stick so far? Why did we stick so long with that, right? Because we saw after, and, we can say, okay, maybe if we wait we wait this thing out, maybe it gets better, right? Maybe it gets better. When was it, Phil Longo, okay, so the way the Badgers were recruiting and what Phil Longo wanted to do with that offense, they didn't go together. They didn't mesh, right? So you had to go back to the drawing board. Now, we're 2 years into the Luke Fickell era, and now this offseason, we have to go back to the drawing board, not just on the offensive side of the football, but on the defensive side of the football. Because the defense looked, I'm going to blame lack of talent on the defense a little bit too, but I'm going to blame Tressel. That defensive line was not good. That linebacker core was not good. The secondary, they were hit or miss day by day, right? Hallman was good, but he went away. Wohler, I feel bad for Wohler sometimes. I do. Because Wohler, he gives it everything he's got, man. And it just falls apart around him. And, outside of that, you look around this defense and you look at past years and you say, okay, where are the X factors, right? And you look at the years of the linebackers that the Badgers have had, right? TJ Edwards, and you had TJ Watt in there. And, you just had all these little pieces, the big pieces, right? In that defense. Now, we look at this defense and we're like, we have Hunter Wohler. Where else is somebody stepping up? Is there anybody else going to step up here? And I know, we talk about recruiting, right? And Luke Fickell is bringing in recruits. And the recruiting classes look good. But how long does it take to develop those guys? And do you have the right coaches, the right coordinators, everything in place to even get those guys to the right position, to get them over what we've seen now? I don't know. I seriously don't know. Right now, you're going into an offseason, and it's dark. It's dark right now. Camp Randall's dark. I hope he's sitting in his office and it's dark right now. Maybe he's got a candle lit in the corner. He needs to go to the darkness retreat with Aaron Rodgers at this point. Because I watch this, and you're heading into an offseason now of unknowns, right? And if his seat is not hot, a lot of people are on the fire Luke Fickell train. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can't be on that train. All right. But if you fire Luke Fickell now, let's just say Monday morning, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's not going to happen. Maybe he does get fired. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. But if you fire Luke Fickell now, the recruiting, everything, I mean, we're in a hole now, but how much deeper can that hole get? It might get deeper. This hole could get deeper. So, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I know a lot of people will probably differ in those opinions, but you're going to run this back with Luke Fickell. You are. You're going to run it back next season. Next season is it for me, right? And I get, right? Oh, man, he's got to turn over this program. Paul Chris left in shambles, everything like that. I'm sick of hearing about Paul Chris. That's done. That's done and over with. By next season, Paul Chris guys, if they haven't already been gone, they're gone, right? Now it's Luke Fickell's team. Now it's Luke Fickell's recruits. Now it's his transfers. Now it's everything, right? And he's going to bring in the offensive coordinator. Whoever he decides he wants to bring in, they have to be the guy. They have to. This process that he goes through now, I believe, is for his job. I do. Next season is for his job. I know there's a $21 million buyout if they want to get rid of him. I mean, I think it's $28 million if they get rid of him now, 21 next year, whatever it is. You're going to go into next season with Luke Fickell, but I would. You have next season's schedule is a gauntlet, right? It's a gauntlet. So we talked about the other day. Aaron and I talked about it going into this game, and we said, because he was talking about schedule too, and he said, how do you judge a coach wins and losses off of that schedule? And I said, you know what? Honestly, I'm not judging him off of the wins and losses. Not what the record looks like. I'm judging him off of what it looked like in those losses. What it looked like in the wins, what it looked like in the losses, right? Because this season, my biggest problem with the Badgers, this Badger football team this season, was not in the way that, not in the losses even. I'm not even looking at the L's right now. I'm looking at the performances in those L's, right? In those losses. I'm looking at those. And I'm saying to myself, in those losses, how did his team perform? Did they show up? Was there fire? Was there this? Was there that? And in those games, the Iowa, the Nebraska, the Minnesota, when it meant something, when it was for a trophy, when those games are my measuring sticks, and you play those games and you get dog walked, those are the games that I judge him. And I say to myself, wow, like, is the locker room gone? What's gone, right? And then you listen to all the post-game interviews, right, with Hunter Wooler and with Braden Locke, and I believe there was another couple linemen or anything like that. They interviewed a couple different players there. I think it was Ben Barton was in there. There was a couple other guys. And you listen to them talk, and it's like they love Coach Fickell. They do. They've said it in their posts, and maybe they are just lying to us. I don't know. Maybe they're lying to us. But the way that they make it seem, they didn't quit on Coach Fickell. So what is this crap then? And so then it comes back to the drawing board of your head coach managing a game. It comes back to the coordinators putting guys in right positions. It comes back to the drawing board then. So that's why you're going into this offseason, and you have to completely redo, retool, change it up, fix it all. And in year 3, you're going into it like you're year 1 all over again. That doesn't bode well for a fan base who is already hot. And, I mean, probably 60-40 on firing or keeping, right? I mean, it's like the Greg Gard the gauge, right? Everybody's always ready to fire Greg Gard, and then all of a sudden he wins a couple games. It's that. We're at the point where we're probably 60-40 firing him. And even those people who are in on keeping him are still in the back of their heads saying, is he actually the right guy, right? Because I'm even there. I think I'm going to honestly say you don't fire him. Okay, that's my point blank opinion. You don't fire him. Now, that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. They think that we should fire him. And I can't say that you're wrong, because I'm in that group right now where I'm saying to myself, I think you keep him for these reasons, but next season is it for me. Next season is going to hit the hay for me. And if he doesn't figure it out next season, what do you do? Because you cannot continue to let your program, if you are McIntosh and you ride this baby out until the end, until the contract's up, and this program keeps falling and keeps falling, what do you look like? The AD's fired then, right? The AD's fired. Fickell's fired. Now we're starting from square zero on everything, right? So, I mean, just a disaster right now for this Badger team. And Pat says, with the way you can bring in transfers in today, grab a new coach and a whole new team. I mean, yeah, we can roll it the Indiana way with the Kurt Singetti. I mean, he brought in a decent enough roster from James Madison and everything like that. I agree, but I mean, you play this game of, and I know it's the cliche, but you play this game of what if the next guy sucks, right? What if the next guy sucks? There's always that possibility that the next guy's going to suck, and maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know, right? I've always been on the fire Greg Gard train, right? But this season, the way that he changed his coaching philosophy and changed the way that he does things, let Kirk Penny basically design the offense and everything like that, that was big time. That was big time, and it changed a lot of people's perspectives on what Greg Gard is as a head coach. So maybe, just maybe, we get an offensive coordinator coming in, right? I don't know who it's going to be. I've heard Notre Dame's quarterback coach, I believe. I've heard a lot of different names, right? Maybe you bring in this offensive coordinator and he comes in, changes it up a little bit, changes up the offense. The offense starts to feel it, right? And then the defense. Maybe you fire Tressel. Maybe Tressel's gone, right? We start over at ground zero with the defense and set it up. Maybe Jim Leonhard comes back. I don't know. I see a lot of people praying for Jim Leonhard to come back. I don't think he will, but maybe you get a good defensive coordinator in there and he fixes the defense, right? Because the way that Fickell has it set up, and this is the way that I believe Fickell wants it to be, because then he isn't the fall guy for anything, is he has an offensive coordinator, he has a defensive coordinator. He doesn't do much in between the lines except for manage the game, right? So if you bring in this offensive coordinator, maybe it's a good one this time around. You find a defensive coordinator out there because you don't trust Tressel, you fire him off. You could see this team start to figure it out. Then it changes perspective again, right? But I truthfully believe right now you're not winning football games with Braden Locke. And it's tough, but you look at the last two seasons, we've banked on transfer quarterbacks coming in Tyler Van Dyke, in Tanner Mordecai, coming in, changing the offense, being that guy. Both those guys get injured. Both times, Braden Locke has to step in and be the guy, right? Be the guy twice. He's got to step in and be the guy. I don't believe he's never supposed to have been the guy, right? And yes, he might have the brains for it. He might. And sometimes I lack the ability to think that he has the brains for it. But he has, I think he understands what he's supposed to do. I just don't think he has the talent to do it. I don't think he has the talent to do it on this level. You can have all the IQ in the world, but if you can't play the game, you can't play the game, right? And if Mabry was really not that ready, okay, so now you go back to square one with the quarterback room. What are you going to do now? Are you going to go out and grab another transfer quarterback? Are you going to bank on a transfer quarterback coming into the system and trying to lead you? I'm sick of that. I'm honestly sick of that. If you bring in an offensive coordinator who can fix quarterback or work with quarterbacks, anything like that, you bring in a quarterbacks coach and you bring in Carter Smith, you have Locke already. You're going to have Mabry's going to be in there too. And you fix this quarterback room. You fix it from the inside. Don't keep, I hate the idea that we keep. He's done. So now we're back to square one with the quarterback room anyways. So, and if Tyler Van Dyke comes back, I mean, do you trust him with his injury problems? I'm so sick of the transfer portal for quarterbacks. Build a quarterback. Carter Smith's coming in, build him up, right? Until then, in this offseason, get Mabry ready to go. Mabry is a good prospect quarterback, I believe. He can sling it around. He's got some height. He's got some athleticism to be able to move around there. Get him ready to go. And when Mabry's ready to go, throw him in there. And then when Carter Smith, have him work behind him. When he's ready, bam, there you go. Work from the inside if you're the Badgers with this quarterback room. Because a big downfall of this season, the Penn State game, the Oregon game, lack of quarterback play. Terrible quarterback play. And the hardest part is we want to sit here and blame Paul Chryst for all this crap. What transfer portal? Tanner Mordecai, transfer portal. Nick Evers was transfer portal. All these guys are transfer portal guys, and Mabry was a recruit. So where are these Paul Chryst quarterbacks? They're gone. Graham Mertz is gone, right? They're all gone now. Now it's Luke Fickell's problem. And Phil Longo is supposed to be this quarterback guru who is supposed to get all the boys up. He didn't do it. We've seen it, right? We've seen the lack of production, the lack of anything at the quarterback position for the Badgers. We've seen it for years. We saw it for years. And yet it got worse. It got worse this season. Braden Locke was, at times, I thought he could be something, but then he drew me back. He threw me. It's like he made me believe in him for about one throw. And then the next throw was like, this guy, you got to find something in the quarterback room. I don't think you keep dipping in that transfer portal to try and find it. I think you got to build it from the inside. You know what? Honestly, this whole Luke Fickell experience and everything like that has been a train wreck up until this point. I want to see him come into next season with a team of guys who are bought in, right? You got to be bought into this system. That's what he said in his press conference. You got to be bought in. They got to come in bought into the system, but they have to come in and show some kind of fight. I don't care. Next season, they have a dogfight of games on there. They have Ohio State. They have Oregon on the road. They have Alabama again, Indiana. They have Illinois. They have a tough schedule next season. You're going to play some tough games next season, but it's not the wins and losses that are going to affect me the most. It's what they look like in those games. That's what I think it comes back to. So can Luke Fickell get his guys ready for games? That's my biggest question. Can he manage in the game? Can he adapt to adversity? Because this season, it's like we got punched and we didn't know what to do. They look lost. They look like they just gave up on these games. Multiple games, right? The USC game, had the lead, blew that. Look at some other games on there. The Penn State game, had the lead late, pick six, fell apart. Iowa got them just completely obliterated. I don't know what to even say about that. Oregon, you were in that. You came out like your piss was hot. And Oregon, they had the better quarterback. They didn't make the bigger plays. They didn't make big plays on that day, right? They made the plays they had to survive. That was a game that was destined to be an upset, and you couldn't find a way. Nebraska, dog walked. Minnesota, dog walks you. It's the losses that, the ugly ones, right? And your ugly losses came to teams that are outside of the rankings, have struggled against the good teams, and you believe you're supposed to be on a tier with them, right? There's tier 1, tier 2 in the Big Ten now. Tier 1, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State's in there a little bit, right? Missing a team in there probably. That's probably about it there. Tier 2, you have Nebraska was supposed to be in there. I don't think they ever got to there. But you have Iowa. You have Minnesota's probably up in that spot now. You thought you were supposed to be in that tier. Now, where are you? You're probably on the tier just above Purdue. A little above Purdue. Rutgers, you're ahead of. You beat them. Northwestern, you're ahead of them. But those aren't measuring sticks. Those aren't good programs that you dog walked. You got dog walked by the programs that you're supposed to be on their level. So, man, it just, this season as a whole, this game was it. This game was the season right here in a nutshell. You got embarrassed. You got messed up on your home field in front of your home crowd for a trophy, for the Paul Bunyan's axe, with a lot on the line. And throw the bowl streak out. You couldn't get up for this game. You couldn't find a way to get things done. Wisconsin football in a nutshell there. We do have one on the text in line there. Is it time for Fickell to hang up the team vest? Is this really even a team? I want to say no. I really do. I want to say no. But, listen to these guys talk in the press conferences after the game. I don't believe that they ever gave up on Fickell. In everything that I've seen, I don't believe that they gave up on Fickell. I just think they lack leadership. And that's Fickell's fault. That it starts at the top and it works its way down. They lacked leadership. They lacked a guy who was able to round up the troops and get them going. And that sucks. That sucks. Because I look at this team and, man, there was some players on this team. I mean, did they lack talent? Yes. There was some glaring spots where they lacked talent. I thought they lacked talent on the defensive line. was a big one for me. The linebacker room, I thought they lacked talent in there until they started to give Christian Allegro some time. The offensive line, I thought, fell apart. I thought the offensive line was actually a good portion of this Badger team, and that offensive line fell apart on me. And at one point going into this game, they allowed 21.5% pressure allowed by the O-line. It was the fifth best in the FBS. So, their pass blocking was good this season. And that was atrocious. And you look, 3 batted balls in this game, I believe. I don't know if it ended up as more. I totaled it at 3 batted balls by the defensive line. And that's on luck. That's on luck. That's on coaching. Teaching him, hey, you got to back a little bit more. You got to step out of the way, right? You're throwing it. He's spiking off guys' helmets in this one. He's had the last 2 seasons, he's had 17 batted passes. That's top 10 in the FBS. 17 batted passes for Braden Locke over the past 2 seasons. That's terrible. That's rough. You're not even getting the ball off at that point. And who knows with the way that he throws football sometimes. That might have been a blessing in disguise because it might have got picked off on the other end there. But man, this, wow. Just wow. For it to end like this in the way that it did, I don't know. I feel like it was the way it was supposed to. I feel like this was the way it was supposed to end. We were supposed to fall apart. It was supposed to look like this. I don't even know. I'm at a loss for words with this Badger football team at this point. And honestly, wait until next season now. And Coach Fickell, he came out in his press conference. I watched the press conference. I don't have the video here to play it on the stream, but he did say, just like I told the players, those that stay will be champions. You've got to have people that believe in you. I know it's hard having faith in things that you can't see. And right now, I'm sure they can't see it either. And that's the tough part. You're right. You're right. We can't see it. We can't see it right now. And hopefully that's just us sitting here saying to ourselves, we were used to success. It started to fall apart, and now we're not even in a bowl game, right? And there's a lot of people out there who poked fun at the Badgers for at least just making a crap bowl game. Now what, right? Now where are we at? We're not even in one. We're not even looking at one right now, unless we get into some academic bowl. And I honestly think an academic bowl or whatever it's called there. If you do get invited, I would take it. I would take it. You're going to get your young guys built up a little bit, at least, right? You have some young talent on this team. Christian Allegro on the defensive side. Okay, let's look at the positive, right? We've been talking about the crap this whole time, and I hate talking about the crap so much all the time. I want to talk about some of the positive. So you have Christian Allegro in that linebacker room, and I thought he played fantastic. I thought in these last couple games where there wasn't a bright spot, he was a bright spot. He has stepped up big time. He's looked good, right? Vinny Anthony, he has stepped up big time this season. And Vinny Anthony, I'm excited to see. Hopefully, I'm like I said, it's all hopefully, right? Hopefully, we see Vinny Anthony stay around, stay with the Badgers. Because I love what I see out of Vinny Anthony. He's got big play, explosiveness. He's got great hands. He's got the ability to do just about everything you need him to. I hope Vinny Anthony's going to stick around because this is going to be a big piece. Darian Dupree, I loved what I saw out of Darian Dupree this season. Young back, not a whole lot of experience. He's got a lot of speed. He's got an ability to find the hole, hit the hole. I'm trying to find good on this team right now, but it's really bites you in there. I did see Ricardo Holman did not walk with the seniors in this game. So maybe, he was uncertain of what he wanted to do. He was scheduled to walk with the seniors. Maybe we do see Ricardo Holman come back there. That'd be a big boost with a younger secondary in this next season here. But you have some pieces coming back. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know. I only saw a few quotes from guys. If guys are going to walk away from the program there, maybe it's a good thing that they do. You get some of these younger guys in there and you start to build from the ground up again. That's where we're at. You're building from the ground up. You're seeing next season is it though. Next season, you have to see progression from this team. And if you don't see any progression from this Badger team, I mean, then you're kind of, you can't help but move on from your head coach, and you kind of just start over and see what happens. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Badger football is in the dark. They talk about the darkness. They are in the dark, and we're going to see. It's quite alarming. It is quite alarming, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it there, Badger fans. And we have Badger basketball right now. So Badger men's basketball playing well. So hopefully maybe Greg Gard can deliver us to the, I don't know, hopefully a Sweet 16 appearance this season. And maybe we'll forget about this Badger football team until next fall, when we can just, I don't know, sulk in it then. We can sulk in it then. And maybe Luke Fickell finds an offensive coordinator, turns it around a little bit, and this team starts to look like something. But until then, at this very moment, wow, just a depressing season. That's plain and simple. That was a letdown season. I went into this year, and I don't even know why. I went into this season looking at the Badgers had coming in, looking at the quarterback play with Tyler Van Dyke, and I was excited. I actually was excited for Badger football. And I was one of those people. Who said 8 wins, 9 wins. I think they'll get there. I had faith. I said, you're going to lose that game. I think I looked through their schedule. I said the game to Alabama, probably a loss. Penn State, probably a loss. Oregon, loss. And those are the games I looked at, and I was like, those are definite losses. USC, I thought they could play them close. And the rest of it, I was like, I think this team's good enough. They can win some football games. They can take care of their business. I think they can win these games. I really did. Yeah, that went away fast. I'm glad my wife doesn't let me bet on games. I'm really glad. I would have put money down on the Badgers, and I would have lost a lot of money this season. So I'm glad that she doesn't let me bet. That might be the reason why. There's false hope, right? False hope in Wisconsin sports. That's really gets you every time there. So, I mean, just a letdown, a complete letdown by the Wisconsin Badgers this season here for this football team. But we're going to get more into the Badgers. I don't even know. We'll do a season wrap up show at some point here. When this all goes away, right? Maybe we wait until next week and somebody gets fired, right? Maybe somebody gets fired next week there. I don't know, but we'll talk more about this Badger football team coming up probably next week there. Get into that a little bit, see what Aaron thinks, right? Because Aaron, he was kind of sad. He was kind of upset with me because he said, I actually watched the Badgers today. He said, I was at work. I was watching the Badgers. I was getting into it a little bit there. And he was like, I'm sad I got into a car accident because I actually wanted to talk about it tonight. And I was like, you know what? I'm sorry there. So hopefully he can get in at some point here. We can talk about the Badgers a little bit more there. But as of right now, I mean, this is just ugly. This was, wow. Okay. So Badger football drops the axe. The trophy case is empty. They 5 straight losses to end the season. 5 straight losses after going 5-2. You were sitting there at 5-2. You needed one more game to get bowl eligible, and you couldn't find it. You couldn't find it in there somewhere. So that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinions out there on Badger football. You can find the text in line there right below me there, the 715 number. You can find the text in line. You can let me know there. You can let me know over the chat here, wherever you're tuning in from on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on Badger football because, yeah, so at one point I was at loss for words, right? I was at a loss for words. I was sitting on the couch, and my wife and I were watching the game, and I believe it was right after half. And we were sitting there. I think it was right after Minnesota scored again. And she's about to say something. I said, nope. I said, we just got to sit here and watch. We just got to watch. I said, there's a lot of things that I could say right now, but they don't need to be said. We just got to watch this crap. So we sat there. We watched the rest of that game, got the false hope that there was a comeback potentially on the way. And, well, here we are. Badger football falls to Minnesota. The Axe is now heading back with PJ Fleck and his sunglass wearing self. He's heading back to Minnesota. Listening to his press conference was depressing. after the game. Because when I have to hear that son of a gun all fired up, all excited, telling me that, and you know what? The worst part is he didn't tell any lies during his press conference. He said the more disciplined, tougher, more physical team won today. I was like, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Like, I go into those press conferences, I'm like, I want to look at what PJ Fleck says, and I want to just tell him he's wrong. And I'm like, no, he's right. They came to ball. They came to play. They played tougher. Something I didn't think that would happen was that Badger football would look this, I don't want to say weak, but it's just demoralized. They look, this is demoralizing watching this team, watching what unfolded. And man, wow, okay. So we move on. We move on with it. We look ahead to 2025, and hopefully Carter Smith comes in and he just starts lighting the world on fire, right? That's all we can hope for. That's all we can hope for. Barstool Big Cat save us, right? That's what we're hoping for. Dave Portney's all up in there in Michigan trying to save them. Barstool Big Cat save us here in Madison, because at this point, we need a lot. We need a lot to save us here for this Badger team. So Badgers drop the axe to Minnesota. I want to look at the rest of the college football slate coming up this week. Happening right now, Georgia third, 17-6 right now. 17-6. Wow. That's rough there. And I do have Aaron. He just texted me up there. He says he's coming. He's coming. He said 3 minutes here. 3 minutes. So we'll hold off on the college football picks for the weekend here. But if Georgia drops this game to Georgia Tech, wow. I mean, that is going to, the committee's going to find a way, right? 3-loss Georgia team. Well, these losses before don't matter as much, right? Yeah. Okay. The committee, sometimes they made this 12-team playoff and they're like, that's going to fix all of our problems. And I watch this and I'm seeing these, watching the committee talk about these games and everything like that. And it's like, how is Alabama and Georgia and some of these other SEC teams? They're like, oh, well, the SEC is just deeper than the Big Ten. So these Big Ten losses, just, they don't look as good as the SEC losses. And okay, sure. But if Wisconsin and Minnesota, let's just say hypothetical world, and I think I saw somebody tweet this out there. They said, if Wisconsin and Ohio State on the same day. And Alabama and Georgia both dropped games to, I don't even know who the bottom SEC is, probably some two craptastic teams. Let's go with two craptastic teams. They would tell me that the Georgia and Alabama losses look better than the Ohio State and Oregon, just because the SEC's deeper. The SEC's deeper. It doesn't really matter. The SEC's deeper. That's bullhooky. That's just a load of bullhooky on that. I mean, I hear it, I see it, and it's just like, stop. Just stop. I mean, it's just ridiculous sometimes. So we see Georgia on the ropes right now against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech currently moving the football a little bit here, getting towards the later half of this third quarter. So we'll see what finishes there. We saw Boise State pull off the big win against Oregon State there, 34-18. Ole Miss got the win against Mississippi State, 26-14 earlier today. And Colorado routed Oklahoma State 52-0 there. Travis Hunter had a good day for Colorado there. Shedeur Sanders had a good day. And Colorado keeps their hopes alive for the Big 12 title. I think they need a lot of things to happen on the backside of that for them to get in. So we'll see what happens there. Outside of that, we did see Memphis pull off the win against Tulane in that American Conference there. So that definitely helps out, because I believe Army is now in the chase for that. I was just trying to pull up that Army game there. Where the heck are they? Oh, I lost where Army was on my list there, but I believe that gives them a pretty good chance to get into the college football playoff yet. So love to see that. I was rooting for Army. I was hoping they were going to beat Notre Dame, because Notre Dame, for me, sometimes they got some good wins on that schedule. And if they beat USC, maybe that helps them out a little bit. But the Texas A&M win, does it do much anymore? I don't know. The Louisville win doesn't do much for you anymore. The Navy win doesn't do much. The Army win maybe does a little bit, but there's no win that Notre Dame has had this season that really moves the needle. That moves the needle to say this is a powerhouse. This is a team that deserves a first-round bye or anything like that. in the college football playoff. There's no game that Notre Dame has played this season that points me in that direction. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with Notre Dame right now. They're going to have that game against USC, and then that's it. They're going to essentially, if they win that game against USC, Notre Dame's going to be in that college football playoff as probably, I don't know if they get a first round bye, but I think that they're going to be, they're going to get a home game. They're going to get a home game out of that. So we'll see what kind of happens there with Notre Dame against USC there. But a lot of good games still on the docket here coming up this weekend. And hopefully Aaron gets on here soon so we can do the preview for that one there. College basketball. I just want to look if there's any good games of college men's basketball coming up this weekend here. I believe Duke in action. I believe Duke is in action. Is that next week? Next week, Wednesday, I believe. Right now, let's see if there's any good games happening today. Purdue got the win over Ole Miss. Number 13th ranked Purdue got the win over Ole Miss. They're 80-78, a close game there. Indiana with the win over Providence. They get right. Florida with the win over Wichita State. Nothing much there. Arizona drops another game. Arizona's making my Badgers look like that win was not as impressive right now because they keep dropping games left and right there. Aaron is in for the night. There he is, Mr. Crashy. What's going on? Is the cop still there? Is he in the background?
I don't know. I should have asked him what team he's like. Whatever team he likes, I should have had him on the pod. Dude, I'm not going to go on a tirade about this, but man, what this day. Well, I won't forget this day for a while, to be honest, just because it was just ever since I left work, chaos, absolute chaos. I mean, in every stretch, but Black Fridays were like one of my favorite, like growing up. I mean, I love Black Friday. Maybe I have a little bit of a tinted view of it now, just because, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. Don't get me wrong, but just, oh man, the way everything went down, it just, you couldn't write it. You couldn't write it, but I'm here. I'm safe. I could have been injured. I'm not. So anyways, sports, let's go sports.
We're glad to have you. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're here.
I appreciate it.
We just got done. It was a long conversation about the Badger football. That was a fitting end to the season for what it was for the Badgers. That's the way it had to end. That's what I said. The way that this season went for Wisconsin, the complete letdowns, the empty trophy case at the end of it, that was the way it had to end.
It's, man, and like, I texted you earlier about how I got to see, like, from the second quarter on. I didn't really get to see the first quarter too much, but I just thought, like, it was really and I don't blame the running back there for you guys. I mean, he was getting just stuffed every time. Like, it was tough for him to get even any positive yards there. But I at a lot of points in this throughout the second, the third, to the fourth quarter, I'm like, man, the defense is they're doing enough. Like, I didn't think they were playing great, but they were doing enough, And then Minnesota had some key drops. I'm like, this game was kind of up for the taking. I thought, at least in the second and third quarter. I mean, I thought Minnesota's quarterback there, Max Brosmer, played pretty well, but man, watching that game, I even think guys on Wisconsin were like, come on, Brandon Locke. Like, you can't be better than this. Like, that's just the impression I got, was like, come on, like, give us something. They had that I think it was Vinny Anthony in the end zone. That was a good throw. It's just outside of, like, a few good throws today, I'm like, man, like, the defense gave you a lot of stops when you needed it. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought the defense, like I said, I didn't think they played excellent, but they played, I mean, given the circumstances too, I think, playing, there were some short fields. There were, like, it was just, I was just like, man, like, Braden Locke, like, I think that's almost a fitting way for his season to end. Cause I'm like, dude, like, just help us, don't hurt us. Right. If you're Wisconsin, but I don't know, man, that was, I don't know, what do you think about how they came? Do you think they came ready to play? Cause I mean, throughout the second and third and fourth, I thought at times they kind of checked out a little bit. I'm not going to say completely, but it felt like they were just like, no matter what we do, we can't offensively, we can't do anything. So it's just like,
I think it's hard to play defense when your offense stinks. It's hard to play defense consistently throughout a game, and it's demoralizing almost when you get a 3-and-out or you force a punt and your offense comes out there and it's just like, what am I watching? Like, what is this? And then you're back on the field. And then you got to try and do it again. And then you go off the field. Penn State game, same thing, right? You stop Penn State, you get them stopped on a 4th down, or you get them to punt, and then all of a sudden the offense would come out, and it was just disastrous. And it's so hard to keep your own morale, I guess, up in those situations.
It's
for there. And I said, you look at every one of the press conferences after the game, Hunter Wohler, Braden Locke, Ben Barton, some of the different players on the team. Nobody gave up on Coach Fickell. They all said how much they love Coach Fickell, how much they love this program, everything like that. They all said it. Now, if I believe them, I don't know. I don't know if they're lying to me or anything like that. I can't tell if they are or not. But the way that they make it seem is they never gave up on Coach Fickell. So the locker room wasn't lost. So what was it then? And I alluded to it comes back to leadership. I said, if you want to blame Luke Fickell, it's for his leadership. It's his game management. It's adapting in the game. It's game decisions, right? Because those are the biggest things for a head coach. Look at Eberflus, right? Eberflus, what cost him his job? That mishap at the end of that game, the mishaps that have happened all the time with him with game management. Game management has been Luke Fickell's problem, coaching in the game. It's not outside the game. Dude can recruit. Dude can fire up his guys. Dude can make them love him, right? But he cannot get over the game. He cannot get into that game. And once they face adversity, the team falls apart. They all fall apart. Defense, offense, everywhere in between. So, I mean, it stinks. But this is how I believe it had to end this way. I do. Because if they would have won, let's just say hypothetical world, they would have won, right? Do you get a gut check then? Do you go into the offseason and you think you have to change it all and fix it all? No. Because you did just enough. You did just enough to squeak into a bowl game again. And maybe you have to tweak a few things, but you don't need a full turnover. Now you go into this offseason and you're like, okay, we didn't even make a bowl game. We look like crap. Minnesota's ahead of us. Iowa's ahead of us. Nebraska's ahead of us. What do we got to do? And I think it changes them. I really do. I think if there's anything coming out of this that's going to benefit them is that they didn't win this game, because I don't think they deserve to. After that stretch, they just went on 5 straight losses. 5 straight losses. That's tough.
Yeah. No, I mean, you really hit the nail on the head on all those points there. I'm watching that and I'm like, I'm not going to leave Luke Fickell off the hook, but man, I'm that far down on Braden Locke. Like I don't know what you do with him. It's like he's like we've talked about before. It's like, at times you probably think he has the ability, and it's his decision making. Today, it was like I felt like it was everything. It was like his ability wasn't there, his decision making wasn't there. How many balls were tipped at the line? That's a whole different issue. But it's like he's thrown into double coverage constantly. Like I don't know what you're supposed to, like you said. I mean, I agree with you. Keeping the team together is tough. When things start going bad, I mean, that's when it is when you're faced with that adversity. Like, okay, what do we do? Where do we go from here? How do we bounce back? This and that. But I even saw, like, there had to have been times, like, I forget what receiver it was, but Braden Locke, like, yeah, he's getting rushed a little bit, but he like airmails it over the one guy, and I'm just and you heard boos, like you heard some boos from the Wisconsin fans, and I don't know about, like, Penn State doesn't boo too often. It's not like the NFL, right? Like, there's some fan bases, like the Eagles fan base, the Jets, the Giants, like there is fan bases that will let you absolutely hear it. College, it's kind of rare you hear them booing the home team. And I mean, they went into half. I didn't blame them for kneeling it down there, but they kneel it down to go into half, and like it. I mean, you hear it. It's, and I mean, even the jump around. I figured it's the last home game of the season, the last game of the season, unfortunately. But their jump around was pretty. They probably gave it everything. They know they're going to have to wait a whole another year to do that again. That sucks. That's just a gut punch. But it's like I thought throughout that game, I'm like. Like Braden Locke, like just make some type of plays, yeah. I'm not trying to put it completely on him, but I was listening to the game cast, and they were saying how, Minnesota's game plan was shut down Wisconsin's running game and make Braden Locke beat you. Like that's what they came in here and tried. And that was what they were going for from the jump of this game. And I mean, like I said, I don't blame Tyree Walker, but he averaged less than 3 yards a carry. Dupree less than or just over 2 yards a carry. So it's just when you can't, and I'm not like Minnesota game plan, like they loaded the box. So it's like, what do you do? But that's when, if your brain lock, you're like, okay, I got to find the holes. I got to, if they're sinking back into zones because they know we got to throw now, you throw underneath. Like it just, I feel like I said, I don't want to completely put it on him, but it's like when you don't have a quarterback that can get you anywhere, it's like, how much can Luke Fickell do? That's my, I mean, how, like, he's so strangle locked by Locke that it's like, you have to fix that going into that. Like if you run him out there week one, like if I'm a Wisconsin fan, I'm checked out already. Cause it's like, here we go. Like, what can we possibly accomplish with him is my pushback,
Oh yeah. No, you went into the half. I know you're talking about the running backs there. 0.4 yards per carry going into the half. 0.4 yards. You aren't going to win a football. And Luke Fickell was 100% correct. He went into his press conference. He said, you cannot win football games. And he named off the stats. He's like, you cannot win football games with this. And I'm like, yeah, you can't. You can't do it. And, I alluded to it before. I said, I don't want to give him the bailout card, right? There's no bailout cards. But you went into a season, 2 seasons now in a row, with the transfer quarterback, Tanner Mordecai, and now Tyler Van Dyke. Both seasons, both guys go down with injuries. And Tyler Van Dyke's was an ACL tear. That sucks because now it changes everything. Braden Locke was never supposed to be the starter. Maybe, all throughout. Well, we heard of close wise together. Like they're so close. They're so close. I don't believe it was that close. And if it was, Tyler Van Dyke was garbage because I don't want to say that Braden Locke was garbage because like you said it there. I mean, he makes a good throw to Vinny Anthony in the corner, and then he makes another throw, and it's like, what was that? What was that throw? Like, why? What was that? So it's like, it's so hit or miss. It's so hit or miss with them. And, a lot of it has to do with quarterback coaching too, right? We saw 3 batted passes today. 3 batted passes. And he has 17 batted passes in the last 2 seasons. Braden Locke does. That is tied for 10. It's top 10 in the FBS for like the worst out of all of them. So that hurts. That is a hurtful stat right there. And that tells you quarterback coaching too. Teaching him how to drop back a little bit farther, get himself into an open lane to throw the football because he is a smaller guy. I mean, yes, he can't help his height. He's a smaller guy. That comes back to quarterback coaching too. That comes back to leadership. That comes back to the coordinators there. So we do have another comment there. Pat says, how can you expect Fickell to fix it? These were his coordinators, his players, his team. I agree. I 100% agree. And that's why I said before, I said Luke Fickell set it up so he couldn't be the fall guy. He has an offensive coordinator. He has a defensive coordinator. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't play call. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He's just supposed to be the leader of the group. So when you go into this offseason now, you messed up with your first 2 coordinators, Phil Longo and Tressel. You fired Tressel. Get rid of that. Get rid of that crap show. Get rid of Tressel. Start over. Because honestly, you're starting over anyways. Like you're starting at square zero anyways. So you're bringing a new offensive coordinator. You're bringing a new defensive coordinator. You bring in a system that fits the players that you have because I agree. It's his players, his team, his coordinators, everything. But I think the biggest problem with Phil Longo was he was trying to run a system that didn't fit Wisconsin. The air raid system did not fit Wisconsin. And we saw that. We saw that early. You got to have explosive wide receivers. You got to have a quarterback that can sling it and run a little bit. You got to have guys that can run the option. You got to have an offensive line that can block hole. You got to have it all. And you did not have that. You didn't play to the strengths of, I don't even know what the strengths were. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to try to brainstorm the strengths, but I don't know if there was really a strength. So I don't know. But you have to find something that works. And we hear all this crapola of, the Phil Longo is a problem, this and that. Yeah, he probably was, but he was running a system that didn't fit. It didn't fit what was here. It didn't fit the players. You have to adapt to the players that you have. And if you can't adapt, that's your problem. Then you go back to the drawing board. Then you fix it. But it's so hard to do it in season. And now we go into year 3 of Luke Fickell, into year 3. And it's like we're back at year 1. It's like we're starting over. It's like we're starting over with the new head coach. You're on a hot seat now, and you have to go back to the drawing board. So now you have to come out next season with that gauntlet of a schedule like we talked about the other day, and you have to bring the fight every single game. You have to show Wisconsin, show McIntosh, show everybody that you are the guy, that you are the answer. Because if not, how much farther can you afford Wisconsin football falling into an abyss? Because they're falling. They're falling into abyss right now. How much farther can you go?
Yeah, I mean, you wanted to see them at least in a bowl game, right? After everything that's happened this year, like you said, I mean, it's hard with your backup quarterback. I get that too, but yeah, like you said, I mean, if you can't find your strengths, then like how good of a like, I mean, can they not do anything? Like that just seems a little bit far. You know what I mean? Like, I thought at times they ran the ball okay, decent this year even. And like now teams have kind of like Minnesota. Minnesota's they're a tough out. They have a great defense, and I mean, I saw them last week, like we talked about. They get after you. Like they are one of the most physical Big Ten teams there are, in my opinion. That's like defensively, it's like okay, you have to earn every yard against, but it's not like they're world beater. Like you can beat them. It's just like I think you hit on it so well is when you said like how can the morale be good when you're going 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out? Like that kills you. And then the defense, like time of possession ends up being like pretty lopsided in Minnesota's favor because the offense struggled so much there. It's like they didn't even turn the ball over, but I think at one point they were like 5 straight drives with a punt, and like that's when you started hearing the crowd get restless because it's like okay when. But I just like another thing you said that I just have to echo is the morale with the offense struggling so much, and then you are squeezing because the defense is like, okay, we have to make it like it's not even you can't play comfortable as a defense when the offense is doing nothing. So it's like you feel like everything's maximized. You're under a microscope because if you don't come up with plays, if you don't get Minnesota off the field, like you have no chance because you don't want to get in a shootout with the way the offense looked today. Like it's demoralizing, like you said. It's tough. Like it's like you said, year 4 for Fickle. Like if not now, when? Yep. I mean, it just they were at home. I thought this spread was one point. Like people thought this was anybody's game. I thought I picked Wisconsin to win this year. I mean, they can hang in against teams like Oregon and Penn State and USC. To make games out of those. I don't know if like everybody's checked out. Like there might be more to this than I'm not going to say Luke Fickle's lost the team, but it's like these kids are like, okay, we're playing for a bullcrap bowl, I guess. Like is that their mindset? Like where's like the pulse? I mean, after this game, obviously everybody's just going to be like, whatever. Like season's over, I'm done, I'm out of here. But like I would love to have known what these like not so much what Fickle said to him, like what these players are feeling. Like I can't think that guys are looking around the locker room like, man, here we go again with our quarterback. Like I hate to say like throw Locke under the bus that hard, but like you got to think defensively guys are like, all right, come on, like show it, like do something, like we're trying to, like I'm not saying 24 points is amazing, but I really didn't, for the circumstances the defense found themselves in. I was like, man, like just there were times where it's like this game was up for grabs, and I'm like, just it's very unfortunate Wisconsin couldn't do it. And it's like you said, where do they go from now, or where do they go from here? And like you have to, I think you have to nail these hires, which is like I'm not saying that's easy to do either. I mean, you hope and pray and cross your fingers, but like if next season, like you said, that schedule, yeah, I mean, record wise, how can you think anything can change year to year, but that schedule already is done. Like it doesn't get easier. That's where like this could really go off the cliff, like you said. And then if they come out 5-7 next year, even with the opponents, I think there's no way Fickle they do this again. Like you got to expect a little more. And like I remember Wisconsin in Big Ten championships and 8, 9, 10 win teams. Like this is kind of a fall from grace from that.
So I saw a stat. The Badgers have lost 5 games in a row for the first time since 1991. So that's been it's been a hot minute for that one there. I also saw another tweet from Dylan Graff. He said things Wisconsin football hasn't been under Luke Fickle: tough, nasty, disciplined. 100%. You got to play tough, you got to play nasty, and you got to be disciplined, right? That's the 3 main keys. That's Wisconsin football, right? That was Big Ten football. Was you had to be tough, you had to be nasty, and you had to be disciplined. You had to learn how to hold your water. All those things gone out the door. So those are some of the things me. I don't know if anybody would actually be able to come up with this answer here. Why Wisconsin never played Cade Giacomelli? I have no idea on that one. I'm going to pull him up because I wanted to pull up his stats on the season, because this guy, when I tell you his stats, Aaron, you're going to be like, why is this guy not seeing the field at all? Because he's
a 4-star, right? 4-star recruit.
I don't know what he was, truthfully. I don't know what Cade Giacomelli was anymore. We could probably figure it out. He had, these are the numbers. These are the numbers for Cade Giacomelli on the season. And maybe they're skewed because different moments in games and everything like that. But 33 carries, 274 yards, 8.3 yards per rush.
Wow.
8.3 yards per rush. His long was 45, and he had 2 touchdowns on the season. On 33 carries, he had 274 yards. Now, you can tell me, and I know people will, they're going to say, well, look back to those moments when he did that. Look back to those moments that he did that. I don't care. Be honest with you. I don't care. I don't care if it was garbage time. I don't care if it was against Purdue and Rutgers. I don't care. This guy is averaging 8.3 yards per carry, and you're telling me he did not deserve any more snaps than what he got. That baffles me. Why you're in an offense where at what point do you just say screw it? At what point do you just say screw it? You have nothing going good for you. Your quarterback can't throw half the time. You have no passing game. Your run game stinks. I don't want to blame Tyree Walker. Tyree Walker was fantastic this season. I don't want to blame Darian Dupree. He's a young freshman back who played fantastic for the time that he got. I didn't expect him to do a lot. What about Cade Giacomelli? This guy, he's going to transfer out. He's going to leave. And I hope wherever he goes, you know what? I hope he goes to Minnesota. I'm going to be honest with you. I hope he goes to Minnesota. And he just comes back and he just destroys Wisconsin. Just despite. I just think it just baffles me, because it was week after week. You're like, where's Cade Giacomelli? Why is he not playing? Why? And then today they finally put him out there on 2 passing plays in the red zone. I'm like, what is the point of this? The one throw that he actually got thrown to him, Braden Locke almost got him killed. So why is this guy even in those moments when, look at the stats. Just look at the stats. If we're in this analytical time of football, why are those analytics what we're not looking at? 8.3 yards a carry. I probably wouldn't have continued. If you would have gave him 72 carries like you gave to Darian Dupree, probably would not still be averaging 8.3. But I tell you what, I'd put it to the test. I'd at least test it. And that just tells you how it just Nate Letton, the tight ends coach, they put him in a terrible spot. I'll be honest with you. He's trying to play call for this craptastic offense right now. Will Pauling goes down with injury. That stunk. I mean, there was lots of things that went wrong for the Badgers, but starting with Luke Fickell working his way down, it comes to everything that we've talked about: disciplined football, toughness, playing the game, right? You got to come to play first. You throw skill out the window for 5 seconds. I know everybody draws it back to skill. And I'm not going to say that Georgia Tech doesn't have a decent enough quarterback and they don't have decent players on that team. They probably do. I haven't watched enough of Georgia Tech football to tell you that. But, and this is the big but, you're telling me that Georgia Tech has more talent than Georgia does? BS. That's BS. Guess who's coming to play tonight? Georgia Tech. Guess who came to play when Alabama played Vanderbilt in Vanderbilt? And the Vanderbilt fan base consists of one section of that entire stadium, and everything else is Alabama fans. Guess who came to play? Vanderbilt. They came to play. So whenever I hear Badger fans tell me, oh, it's the skill level, right? It's the skill level. Shut up. I'm done with the skill level talk. And I'm not telling you all to shut up. I'm sorry. You can have your opinions. You can have your opinions. But it's not the skill level. You cannot always chalk it down to skill level. Sometimes it's about who has the dogs that are willing to come to fight night in and night out. And Wisconsin did not have the dogs that want to come and fight. So honestly, I'll be honest with you. If the locker room isn't with Luke Fickell, okay, bye. I'm sorry, bye. Luke Fickell's coming back next season. I'm pretty darn sure. I'm probably in the 75 to 25 range right now. He's coming back next season. So he's probably coming back. You got to have a team that wants to play. You have to. If you want to win football games, you got to have a team that wants to play. So that's where you're at. You have to have players that are bought in. You have to have coordinators that know what the heck is going on. And that's where you're at right now as a program.
Yeah, no, I did look up that Cade Yakamari. I mean, yeah, like his stats are crazy too. And Pittsburgh kid, so not. I mean, it's the completely other side of the state for me. But um, he was actually like recruited by a ton of military school. I don't know if he expressed like interesting, but then he was recruited by Harvard too. So just kind of interesting. Wisconsin was like kind of completely different than all the other schools, and that's where he ended up going. But yeah, that would be I mean, sure, you can say, they used him in situations where, he could just completely have massive success or whatever. But like I think, I agree with you completely. There's like, what do you have to lose today? I mean, I don't know if they were worried about burning like a red shirt if they went to another quarterback. I would have threw another quarterback out there. I mean, at that point, like Braden Locks, if he's not going to be your starter next year, I would imagine, they're trying to do at least the transfer portal. I don't know who's completely underneath him. Like, as far
I
as
said I'm sick of the transfer portal. I said I'm
yeah,
just sick of it. I said we've tried it twice. We've tried 2 quarterbacks out of the transfer portal. At this point, you just kind of start at ground zero. You have Mabry in there. You're going to have Braden Locke back. You're going to have Carter Smith coming in. You kind of just you run with the guys you got. That's where I'm at. I've tried Donovan Van Dyke. I've tried Tanner Mordecai. They both got hurt, and that's out of control, out of anybody's control. You can't control injuries or anything like that. But the transfer portal's not working for at least that portion. Maybe it does one time, but I don't think you can bank on it for quarterbacks year after year after year. At some point, you got to establish something.
Right. Yeah, and I guess it's like I guess you can look at it in a couple different ways. It's like in my opinion, there's no like I don't care if it's you're afraid of burning a red shirt. I don't like whoever's behind not Van Dyke, the kid from Brain Lock.
Brain Lock.
Yeah, like I don't care who else is like I don't care if the kid looks worse than Brandon. Like next year I'm throwing somebody else out there. I that's where I'm at, like just watching it. Like I would be like, you know what? If it gets super bad, we'll put Brain Lock in there. Like
yeah.
But just throwing Brain Lock out there for the Wolves again, like I'm not gonna say all of it's his fault. Like I'm sure there's coaching and like there's probably a lot of different little things adding up to it, but like he just doesn't, for whatever reason, he doesn't have it, and I'm not convinced he's gonna find it. That's my thing. And like you said, I mean, it's a matter of like who sometimes it is a matter of who wants it more, and that's what really makes me question this team a lot is because like the Penn State game, they could have walked away with a win. That's Penn State's number 4, I think, at the time coming in. They run the number 1 team, and it's almost like it's a tale of two. Like, who was the team that showed up today? It's like is this Wisconsin or is it the team? Because it wasn't just the Penn State game; it was the Oregon game. It was like I know USC didn't finish with a good record, but they the talent wise, they probably have more offensive talent than Penn State. They probably have more. They're probably up there with USC and offensive talent. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
And they hung with them. Like that's what is so like Jekyll and Hyde about this. Like, that's where you almost think, okay, if Fickle had the right people, but now it's 3 years of this, like, and it's just been like it's just such a roller coaster that it's like, how are you convinced that he can figure it out either? Like, it's a tough spot to be in. I will say that because I mean, you get one great quarterback and a good coordinator. Look at Indiana; they were garbage. I mean, just hot garbage for so many years. New coach, he brings in his JMU guys, and they're having a great season. It's just you can't come out next year and the games, like you said, the games that they're supposed to win, or at least heavily compete in, like a Minnesota, Nebraska, like those type of games. Next year, I feel like Fickle has to win. Like, this is year 4. Like, if not now, because it's going to be very hard to beat Oregon on the road. It's gonna, like we went over that schedule. I think it's Alabama on the road. It's like there's at Michigan. Like, I know Michigan's not the same, but like those games are going to be like, I mean, you just hope and pray somehow they figure it out, but you don't chalk those wins. Like, you don't chalk those up the wins, with this team right now. So those middle tier teams, like, you got to find a way to, like, the pressure is on. I don't see how Luke Fickell doesn't have immense pressure, because this game was like it could have saved him. It could have kicked the can down the road for a good bit, and then you go to a bowl. Let's say you win the bowl. Like, then you end the season on momentum. Now you end the season and it's just like quiet. It's like, okay, now what? Like, now everybody's looking around as Wisconsin fans, and they're like, so where do we go? Like, is this what we're supposed to be right now? And no one wants to be 5-7. Like, I don't care who it is. Like, you don't want to be 5-7. That just, it's a shame. It's I don't know.
Now the boosters get called. Now everything gets called into question, and you say to yourself, we have to make those $1 million hires at the coordinator position to make this work, to fix this. And that's why I said this needed to end this way, because it wouldn't have got fixed otherwise. We would have just like walk through the mud and it wouldn't have gotten fixed. Now you go into an off season where you say to yourself, okay, we need a new offense. We need new defense. I know it sucks. We got to start at square one, but this is where we're at. And I think it's going to be, as much as it hurts to say, I think it's going to be the best thing. I really do. I think it's going to be the best thing for this program down the stretch there. So, Aaron, off the Badgers. I've had enough of these stupid Badgers for a day here. Like I said before, we're going to wrap up the season at some point. Maybe when Badger fans start to cool down, we'll wrap up this season here, and we'll talk about this Badger football team. As right now, Greg Gard is saving us for a little bit. Hopefully, big win tomorrow there against Chicago State. Set us up for that game against Michigan coming up next week there. But, Aaron, outside, Georgia Tech still got the lead against Georgia right now. That's going to be a good finish there. We got some rivalry games coming up this weekend. We're going to fly through them here, do our picks for this college football slate. So, Michigan, Ohio State, in Columbus. It's a rivalry game. There's guys that get up, but I got a feeling this Michigan team just can't offensively compete with Ohio State. So I'm going to take Ohio State in that one. The spread is 19.5 right now. I don't think I've seen a spread like that for Ohio State and Michigan in a while, but I'm going to take Ohio State to win that one. It could be closer. It could be closer for a little bit, but I don't think so. I'm going to take Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. For the same reasons too. It's a disparity in talent too. Like, Ohio State has a lot of talent on that offensive side of the ball. Michigan, I'm not gonna say Michigan doesn't have talent, but they just can't figure out a quarterback. They can't, offensively they are vastly challenged. I think their defense could get after Will Howard a good bit. You might see a turnover or two or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wish this game was in Michigan at least to make it a little bit, just
that would have helped.
Yeah. Everything that, Michigan's 6-5. Like, when's the last time you saw Michigan 6-5? That's crazy. Yeah. So 4-4 in the Big Ten, like they're a 500 team in conference. So yeah, Ohio State, second ranked team in the nation. They only hiccup they had was the Oregon at the last second in Oregon. So yeah, you gotta, that spread is crazy though. I get it. I understand, but like, wow, that's bulletin board material. If you're Michigan, that's about all you have, but I hope they make it a game just for the simple fact that is a huge rivalry. Like, those teams absolutely hate each other. Fan bases, like I've seen videos of fan bases, like that is bad. I don't know. That's bad. That's borderline like some NFL rival, like Raiders. Who was it? Raiders and it was somebody out west, but there was a Raiders rivalry that was like that, and it was like, wow, like these people. Absolutely.
It gets ugly. It gets ugly between them there. So we'll see how that one squares off. I know Penn State fans, Indiana fans, they're going to be watching that game real close because that's their shot. They need Michigan to win that game for their chances at the Big Ten championship game. I know Indiana also needs Penn State to lose that game against Maryland there. That's going to be at University Park. Penn State's going to win that game. I don't see a path for Maryland. I think Maryland can keep it close. 25.5 bold. I don't think. I'm going to tell you what, right now, you favor a team by 25.5. I don't think they're going to cover that spread. I'm going to be honest with you. Maryland plays aggressive, hard-nosed, keep it close football. They have a decent quarterback. I saw that in that Oregon game. I think they keep it close. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they keep it closer than 25.5, but I still think it's probably 2 touchdowns. But I think that Maryland does keep it closer than what they're giving them here.
I don't know if it's because they cleared house with pretty much like a lot of people.
That could be. I think they think falling apart.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat the other day because I have a buddy that's he's from Maryland, so he's like Maryland, Orioles, Ravens, Terps, all that. And he every year, this is the first year he hasn't told me that Maryland's going to beat Penn. Like, every year he's like, oh, they'll beat them this time. Like, this, because I think Penn State's like 49-3 the last 52 meetings. Like, they don't lose to Maryland. Like, I don't know what it is. But I mean, Penn State's really good with the spread for whatever reason. I don't like spreads like that, but I wouldn't be shocked if they cover it, but I wouldn't be shocked if they don't either. Like, I could see this being, I think it might be a little more than two. Like, this might be 20 points, 17 points, something like 17 feels about right to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, 25 is it. I mean, in conference play, that is pretty disrespectful. I mean, but I mean, Maryland is just it's crazy because Maryland had at times they look like a very good a team that can compete, and they always hit a stretch. It's either at the end of the year or the beginning or the middle of the year, and they just fall apart like game at like 2 or 3 games in a row, and it's like, okay, there's a season, and it's this year is no exception. I'm with you though. I do like their Edwards Jr. Like he's a decent quarterback. Not horrible. But yeah, it's Maryland's in a tough spot, and then they fired they're kind of. I don't hope Wisconsin gets there, but like they just cleared house. It's like, so now they're like, what's their position going to be going forward?
Pretty close to Wisconsin. They're pretty close to Wisconsin. They're right in that ballpark there.
It's just I don't know where you go. Maryland has like they don't have direction right now. That's their like they had Tua's brother for like 3 or 4 or 5 years because of COVID. Decent guy. I'm surprised he didn't get drafted, but yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know where are they Rutgers level. Like I don't know where they're at.
I would agree with that one there. We have a big game. Number 12 Clemson taking on number 15 South Carolina. That should be a good game there between those two. That's Clemson trying to keep somewhat of a hope alive to get into that college football playoff somehow, some way, ACC championship route. South Carolina 8-3. They're looking to stay alive. I don't think they're a college football playoff team, but they're looking to stay alive for a pretty good bowl game there. So Clemson favored by 2.5. It's at Clemson. I'm going to take Clemson to win that one. Dabo Sweeney will get his boys fired up. We'll hear a great press conference afterwards. He'll get all riled up. So I like Clemson to come away with the win there.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, what their last game was, oh shoot, I flipped that around. Clemson's only loss is on the season. I mean, number 1 Georgia week 1, and then a few weeks, now 5 games ago, Louisville. That was a weird one though. I didn't really understand how
Louisville's tough. Louisville's real tough.
Yeah, they are. No, you're right. You're right. I just was like, wow, that's not something you necessarily saw coming. But South Carolina's like been that team that they're in a lot of games. They play really tough as well. I mean, the only like game they really got obliterated was Ole Miss, and Ole Miss to me is not what they're all cracked up to be, in my personal opinion, especially after last week. But yeah, I mean, I think the fact this is in Clemson, this should be a good one, like you said. Give me Clemson, but I think it's going to be close too. I think South Carolina, they've been putting up a fight all year. You got to love that. So I think you'll see that here. It just won't be enough.
I agree. I like that. Let's see here. We got the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn. That one might be closer than what people think, because Alabama, they give me some iffy vibes sometimes. They give me some of them iffy vibes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 3-loss Alabama team. I mean, you don't see that. I'm not going to say the pressure's on, but I mean, if you lose this game, I think it's like, wow. Like then you really start, if you're the athletic director at Alabama, it's like, okay, now what do you know what I mean? Like how I'm not going to say you get rid of them after one season, but it's like, you better figure it out next season or like we're going to have serious problems. So at 3 losses, it's not great. They get killed by Oklahoma last week, or I'm sorry. By Oklahoma. It's just like, wow. This is one of the bigger rivalries too. Like this is like the SEC version of Ohio State and Michigan. Like Auburn, Alabama, they're in-state rivals. Like that. That's a big one. So I mean, if you're Auburn, I'd love to kind of see it just because they're 5-6 on the year. I guess you don't give them a huge chance. I mean, Alabama's favored by 11 or 10.5 there. I hope Auburn makes this like a nail, but I mean, we've seen crazy stuff from Auburn and Alabama games before. So
I want to see it. There. I think this one could be a nail biter. Arizona State has played their way into that Big 12 picture for that championship game against Arizona. In Arizona, it's in Tucson. Arizona always comes to fight. They always come to fight. I think this could be a good game. I think it's closer to an 8.5 point spread there. I think Arizona State pulls it off, but if it's by anything, it's a field goal.
I could see that too. I really could. Like that's one of those you toss away the record. Excuse me for Arizona there. Arizona State's definitely riding the hot wave. You know, like they're riding the wave right now, coming off that win at against BYU, which was like that was a staple win right there. That's like kind of a make or break on how good your season's gonna be because ranked opponent, all that and third. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. This is a rivalry as well, like you said. I mean, this is Arizona will be up for this game at Arizona, so I give them a fighter's chance for sure. I think Arizona State wins, but yeah, it definitely that's an interesting one for sure.
We got two more real quick here. Number 3 Texas taking on number 20 Texas A&M. That's going to be at College Station, so maybe a little home cooking for Texas A&M. I don't know. I don't know if Quinn Ewers is going to play in that game. Last time I saw anything, I thought he was banged up heading into this game here, but I could be wrong. Maybe Arch Manning gets a start. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I do like Texas. I think Texas is going to win this game. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, there's people that love Texas as like a, one of those teams where like, wow, this team could win it all, that type of deal. Then there's there's guys out there that are like, they have no like, it's weird. They're interesting as far as like what people think. I think they're pretty dang good football team, honestly. But College Station, that's another place that, over 100,000 plus that place rocks, at least from what I can tell on TV. Like that's a very hostile environment. So I mean, yeah, Texas A&M, they lose a couple coming off a loss to Auburn, which was a just absolute gunslinging affair, 43-41. That's just like craziness. So they're looking to end their season, better than losing the last two. You don't want to do that. That's no way to go out. So I give Texas A&M a fighting chance as well. I think Texas wins this, but this one does feel a little bit like, I mean, you never know. I mean, Texas had, this is a huge game for Texas though. Like they have to win this game.
They got to. I mean, you got to stay alive to get that first round bye in the college football playoff. So, I mean, they're going to be in it. It's just a matter of where they're going to be and who they're going to be playing there. Kansas State, number 24, Kansas State, taking on number 18, Iowa State. That's going to be in Ames, Iowa for that game there. Iowa State favored by 2.5 right now. Screw it. Give me Kansas State.
I could see that. I haven't watched a lot of, I've seen a Kansas State here and there a little bit, I've watched some bits and pieces. I haven't really seen Iowa State though. That's one team I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's because Brock Purdy went there. I'm like, I'm good. The Cyclones, right? I just
the Cyclones.
Not for me. But I mean, they're consistent. They've been a pretty good, consistent program there in the Big 12. Decent year. They haven't really played a lot of great teams. I mean, they beat Iowa week 2. Nobody else ranked, honestly. So, Kansas State. I could give me Kansas State too. Give me Kansas State. I think they get it done.
Okay. I like that. I like that one there. So a big weekend of college football, rivalry weekend. Can't wait to see what unfolds. Some craziness, maybe some movement in the college football playoff. Georgia just went down 2 scores to Georgia Tech. So if that holds, Georgia will be out of the college football playoff. And that is wild to think. In the first season of the 12-team playoff, Georgia will not be involved. That is craziness. And if Alabama were to lose to Auburn, you see them get knocked off. They drop out of the 12-team playoff, or, the committee finds a way to get them in anyways. I don't know. They probably will find a loophole in there. They'll knock Army out and they'll get them in there. So we'll wait and see. I mean, this game's ending up looking like Georgia Tech's going to pull it out. I don't know. We'll see there, but heck of an upset. Tech there. I haven't talked about it yet here tonight, but we got this Packer Dolphin game I want to get to. The Packers 30-17 over the Dolphins there. And I mean, this Packers team is starting to looking dangerous. In my opinion. They're looking dangerous as of late here. Jordan Love, 21 for 28 in this one for 274 and 2 touchdowns. We had Josh Jacobs go for 19 carries, 43 yards, and a touchdown in this one. He also, I mean, that's a skewed number, I would say, because he also had some yards through the air in this game here. So a little bit, Josh Jacobs working a little bit everywhere. At 74 yards through the air in this one, 4 catches, 74 yards through the air for Josh Jacobs. Tucker Kraft, we talked about it, Aaron. We said, get the big fella involved. 6 catches, 78 yards. He was rumbling right along there. He looked great. Christian Watson bounced back in this game. We talked about the nervousness with those couple, drop balls there. 2 catches for 6-7 yards. Great game from Watson there. Jaden Reed, 3 catches, 24 yards, 2 touchdowns on this game. So lots of great coming out of this one. We also saw the defense for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, the defense looked good. I thought, this is the most impressed I've been with the front four for the Green Bay Packers in a while. I mean, they were getting pressure. Quay Walker, one of my notes that I had was Jeff Hafley allowing Quay Walker to just be Quay Walker. Fly downhill, rush the passer, be yourself, make plays. It was one of those things where it's almost like you listen to Quay Walker and he says, I was thinking too much. We don't need you to think. If Quay Walker's problem is when he thinks he's done, he just runs. He just doesn't know sometimes guys have that. It's like when they overthink situations, right? They overthink situations. That's not their forte. They just have to be a guy who's just a go-getter. Just go get them, right? You see the snap of the ball. You have one object, and you're like, I'm going to bust through this hole, and I'm going to get to that quarterback. Like sometimes, with a guy maybe like Quay Walker, you cannot be in a gap, and sometimes you can't be that guy. Right now, allowing him to be himself, fly downhill, rush the passer, he has impressed as of late. He had 10 total tackles, 6 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 quarterback hit in this game. Those are stats that we didn't see early on from Quay Walker. So I love what I'm seeing out of him there. I know, we're talking about these wide receivers, it seems like a lot. And in this game, watching the wide receivers for the Green Bay Packers, the unselfishness of the receivers. Dontavian Wicks, we talk about him. Why is Wicks still out there when he drops the ball every other throw, right? And I will agree. This game, though, 4 for 5. He had 4 catches on 5 targets. He had 30 yards. He was solid, right? But why is he out there all the time? You watch this guy block. Watch him block for a little bit. He is so instrumental in the run game. Same with Christian Watson. It's not just everybody thinks run game. They're like, it's the offensive line. It's always the offensive line. Yeah, that gets it started. But what's the big play, the explosive plays? How do those happen? How do the cornerbacks all of a sudden not end up even in the area code? Watch Christian Watson. Watch Dontavian Wicks. Watch even a guy like Jaden Reed or Romeo Doubs. They're taking guys out downfield, and they're opening up holes for Josh Jacobs. It is just it's awesome. It's impressive to see just the unselfish play of these guys where they don't care if they're involved in the passing game or not. Right? 2 catches for Christian Watson. He's probably like, I wish I had like 7 catches. Like, that'd be awesome, right? That'd be awesome. He doesn't care. He's like, if we win games and I was involved in the run game by blocking downfield and getting Josh Jacobs going, I'm good with it. And that's what's building this team. That is what is making this team so successful right now. Is not just the play of Jordan Love getting better here during Toyotathon, right? Once Toyotathon starts on the TV there, Jordan Love just takes off. It's not just that, right? It's not that Josh Jacobs is just unreal in that backfield. It's also the little things. And the Packers are doing the little things great right now, and it's just awesome. It's just awesome to watch out there, just all unfold there. And you don't see it in live time. You got to go back. Like, I always record the games and I'll go back and I'll watch the games over again, and just try to see different things because we're always like, I don't know that much about football. I'm learning. I'm watching to see, the little things in there. And I'm watching these receivers and I really watch them. It's like, I didn't even notice this in live time, but Christian Watson's blocking out like a linebacker. He just goes and he takes on a linebacker who's twice his size. And it's just like, that's in a business decision. You're like, I'm not taking that guy on. He's going to take me out. Like, I have bad hamstrings. But in the player position that he's in, he's like, I'm going out there. I'm going to take him on. I'm going to set a block. Even if I get ran over, I'm gonna slow him down at least, right? And it's one of those things where that's the unselfish play that really goes unnoticed until somebody talks about it. And I want to talk about it because that is just awesome. That's just awesome to watch. So if you haven't had a chance, go back and watch some of them plays that I'm talking about. Because even like guys like Wicks, where we harp on him for the drop passes, and then you watch the run game and you're like, man, this guy can block. Like, holy crap, this guy can block. So I just love that. Love what I'm seeing there. I saw somebody put the numbers out there. The 2024 compensation for wide receivers: Tyreek Hill's making $26 million. Jalen Waddle's making $20 million. The Packers' 7 wide receivers combined make $8 million. $8 million.
Wow.
And and everybody, I saw somebody out there in the comments. They're like, oh, the Packers wide receivers, they're just trash, right? They're just trash. They don't make a lot of money and everything. First off, they're young. They're rookies. They're not rookies, but they're young yet. So they're still on rookie contracts. But secondly, I think the Packers wide receiver core works because you have guys who are all good at one thing, or like, you know what I mean? Like Christian Watson, he's the explosive guy, right? Dontavian Wicks is supposed to be your explosive guy with the hands. He doesn't have the hands. He's just got the explosiveness. Romeo Dobbs is I have to throw it in the area code of this guy, and his hands are going to make up for it because he's going to haul that baby in. Jaden Reed's your Swiss Army knife. You can use him in the run game. You can use him in the pass game. He's all over the place. Tucker Kraft's he's a psychopath. In the tight end room, that dude's a psychopath. I mean, he goes out there and his one trash talk is he threatens to burn down people's houses. Like, this guy's just nuts. So Tucker Kraft, though, I mean, look at him. Just the pass game, everything in between. He's going to be up there if you utilize him the way that you should, he's going to be up there with George Kittle. He'll be up there with Travis Kelce at one point. He is going to be one of those guys. He is just that fantastic, I think. Josh Jacobs, look what he can do. He's a bruiser, but you look at his ability to just break plays open, make missed tackles. That is something that you don't really think about, but Josh Jacobs has been unreal in that factor. And then you have all the other pieces like the Chris Brookses, coming in there as a backup running back, or Emmanuel Wilson stepping in there. Just all the little things for this Green Bay Packers team that it wouldn't work if it was separate. But when you put it all together, the pieces fit like a puzzle. And when they fit, it works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and just because none of these guys are making big money yet doesn't mean, like, if anything, they have more to prove as far as week in and week out, because they're trying to get that big not to say that that's a good or a bad thing, but like they're trying to establish themselves. Like, when you don't have that, like Tyreek Hill's established, like, everybody knows how good Tyreek Hill is, this and that. Like, these Packers, these guys want to probably have some limelight. That's just that's a natural thing. When you're a star, any type of player, right? You're in the NFL, you want to make a name for yourself. But yeah, I mean, I thought the Packers did a lot of things well in this game. I mean, I always, it's crazy to think, I remember Brett Favre, it felt like he threw, 150 miles an hour. And then, Aaron Rodgers gets in there. It's like, yeah, he throws 150 miles an hour. And now it feels like just the ball comes out of Jordan Love's hand. Bang. It's it's out of a slingshot or something. Sometimes I'm watching it, but it's I mean, they played really, really well. I mean, I don't think this was a game, really at any point. I mean, it got, somewhat close there in the third quarter, but it didn't feel like the Dolphins were really going to this is kind of how I expected this game to go. I mean, I saw clips coming out of I'm not crapping on Mike McDaniel just because he was cold. But there were clips where he's shaking and it's like, this guy's leading your football team. But it was funny, but it's they're for the Dolphins to come into Lambeau. I mean, you saw the snow coming down at times. I mean, Tua didn't play that bad, honestly. I mean, he found I kind of expected he'd find his, it's not like they can't figure out the Packers defense at all. I didn't think that would be the situation. Wow. And this Georgia game is getting nuts. I flipped it on here too, but
I think Georgia Tech just fumbled it, and I think Georgia will now have it. And if they survive this, I'm going to be pissed off. But I was just going to add to you before I interrupted you, but I'm going to add to you. If you watch the pregame, the warm-ups, right? And Bill Michaels was there at the game. He's working on Thanksgiving. He's a trooper. He's a trooper here. Wisconsin radio guy. He's fantastic. Fantastic. I always listen to him every day. And he was at the game, and he's posting pictures. And he said, you watch the Packers come out, and he posted a picture of them. They're in shorts, tank tops. They look like it's 50 degrees outside. And then you saw the Dolphins come out, and they're sweatpants, sweatshirts, like bundled up, like it's cold. I agree. It's freaking cold. Like I agree it's cold, but you have them and you're hearing about all the equipment they brought. They're bringing scuba gear to wear underneath to keep themselves warm and all this other stuff. And you got the Packers out there and they're like short sleeving it. Like it's just another day at the office. And I mean, that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes to, what the cold weather does to a football team.
I think, no, you're exactly right. I think the Packers, like there's certain teams I think that are built, not that the Bears are good, but like they play at Soldier Field, right? Like if you're taking a team from like even the Bucks and they got to come up and play the Bears, like I think there is something to that, like where it's, the Packers, the Bears, like there are teams that play, I mean, New England, they play in just horrible, when it's 30s, 20s, teens with wind chills and snow, like that's a whole lot different than playing, all your home games at 70, because the weather doesn't even really, wait, like it doesn't really change from start to finish of an NFL season for the Dolphins or for the Bucks. Like it stays around 70, 80, like it doesn't get to like 50 even. I mean, it's just, so I'm not going to take credit away from the Packers. I'm just simply making the point that I never trust the Dolphins to go into like an environment like that and like dominate. Like maybe they pull out a win here or there, like you're surprised, but like I would have been shocked if the Dolphins just came in. And I think it's a disparity in talent too. Like I think the Packers are far better, but I mean the Dolphins have some players, like what I mean. The receiving core, obviously, the defense. I mean we praised their defense a lot, and the Packers just found everything they wanted to and more in this game. I thought like Josh Jacobs, like you said, in the passing game was huge. It just felt like the Packers like didn't skip a beat. Like it was just like, okay, we're not at all afraid of this team. Like, and I'm not saying they're going to be afraid of the Lions or whatever next week, but it's like, I think they came out and knew they were the better team. And like, they, not even for a second did they, like, even if a drive went bad or something, like they just boom. All right. Next, like they seemed locked in the whole time, and that's what you want. I mean, that's what I think LaFleur had them ready to play, and I think they just totally bought in this week as far as we're going to beat this team, and there's not even going to be a debate about it. So,
yeah, and you look at the run game for Miami, 39 yards on the ground for the Miami Dolphins. That is great on the Packers and for defense. I mean, run defense has always been a problem for the Packers. Holding them down to 39 yards, impressive. And you look at the pass game, they got her going a little bit there, 365 yards. The Packers, they played almost to avoid the explosive play. They were going to play deep. They were going to allow you to hit the underneath stuff, and then they were going to stop you. And that they did. I mean, they did. That is the game plan they went in with, and that's what led to the Dolphins kind of driving down the field a little bit there late. And you're going to get into games like that because guess what? You have no Jair Alexander. You don't have your main guy out there. You have no Edgerrin Cooper, but you were able to put pressure on. You were able to shut them down on third downs. We talked about the third down stats the other day there. The Dolphins were one of the best with 2 on the field on third downs. This game here, 4 for 14 on third down. Great work there by the Green Bay Packers. 5 for 11 for the Packers, not great. But we also talked about the Dolphins' defense was also 5th in the league, I believe, on third down defense. So not bad. I mean, 5 for 11. Plus, you didn't put yourself in a lot of those positions either. You were either getting a first down before that or anything like that. So the Packers definitely played an impressive game here, got some fourth down stops when they needed to. And I mean, the 30-17 looks closer, but what the game felt like, it felt like the Packers could have, if they wanted to, put the gas pedal down. They didn't put the gas pedal down. Sometimes I wish they would just put the gas pedal down and bury teams. They decided not to. So, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. We get over it in this one. But I want to talk about some of the impressive play because the PFF grade. Grade. That was awesome to see there. Josh Jacobs, 86 overall grade there. Jordan Love, 77. Chris Brooks, 77. And then Jaden Reed, 72 on his offensive grade there. Pass game, looking at just the pass as a total there with the grade. Tucker Kraft was a 91. Josh Jacobs was a 90. And Jordan Love was 76. So you love to see those numbers there. And then looking at the run game, Josh Jacobs did come in at 78 overall in his grade for the run game there. So great stuff on the offensive side. On the defensive side, these are the numbers that I wanted to see. because I was like, we saw guys in this game step up that haven't stepped up this season. Looking at the defense, Xavier McKinney graded in at 78 overall. His tackling was at an 87, which is good because we saw him miss that tackle against the Bears. It's like, all right, let's see you step it up. He was fantastic. Aaron Mosby, the guy they just brought in, he's a 73 overall on his grade there. He graded in at a 71 in tackle and a 54 in pass rush there. He had one tackle on the game and one stop, so a pretty good game out of Aaron Mosby there. Keyshawn Nixon, 73 overall on his grade. Kenny Clark, 70. And then we see Eric Stokes at a 69 there. Looking at what I wanted to see, which was the pass rush. This is the big one, right? The Packers have been struggling in the pass rush. In at a 76 grade overall in the pass rush. That's good numbers. That's good numbers right there. Devontae Wyatt, 67 in the pass rush. And Lucas Van Ness. This is a guy we've been waiting for to step up. 69 overall grade in the pass rush department. He was fantastic, I thought, in this game. I don't want to say fantastic. Fantastic is like Micah Parsons numbers or crazy numbers like that. I'm not expecting crazy numbers like that out of Lucas Van Ness. But when you have one sack, two tackles for a loss, and one quarterback hit, I'll take that from what we've been seeing out of Lucas Van Ness. He's starting to progress, which is what we're looking for. Even guys like Kenny Clark, who's our big money guy who we're expecting to make plays, he had a sack in this game here. The Packers had 5 sacks in total, 9 tackles for loss, 3 pass deflections there, and 6 quarterback hits on this game. All good numbers. All good numbers right there. So you love to see that. So the defense was the story. They stepped up big time in a game where we needed it. We needed the defense to show us something on this night. What were we get rid of Preston Smith. We have questions on the defensive line. Are they going to be able to step up in big moments to make plays, to get after quarterbacks? This was a pretty good third down team in the Dolphins. What were we going to see? That was our biggest questions. They showed it to us. They showed it to us in this game. They have that ability to make stops, to make big plays when they have to. I was impressed. And Isaiah McDuffie, he leads the way with 10 total tackles and 7 solos in this game here, Aaron. I mean, I loved what I saw of the defense. It wasn't a masterclass. I'm not going to say it was a masterclass performance, but it was a good performance. And that's something that they've been lacking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you are the Packers, like sometimes – I hate that style too. Like I really do. Cause like the Eagles play that way sometimes where, you let a team kind of gas you, 20 to 20, like, from the 20 to the 20 and then you clamp down in the red zone. I hate watching it, but like I've seen, Vic Fangio run that type of thing with the Eagles this year. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we're not, you look up at the scoreboard, 17 points to a team that has Tua, Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Like, you'll take that. Really, you will. I know it was at Lambeau and everything else, but it doesn't matter. Like that is holding a team, under 20 in today's game where, it's just pass. And, deep bomb. A lot of these teams, especially like the Dolphins like to do. Yeah, I mean, that's impressive. And that was a game where it's like, okay, we're coming down. Everybody talks about how, after Thanksgiving, all these teams kind of find their way. How good are these teams going to be? So that's a game where you want to get it right. You're at home. It's going to be a little bit harder now coming up. The line, like that Lions game, everybody's going to have their eyeballs on that. Next Thursday night? That'll be like, wow. That'll be a marquee game to watch. But yeah, this is still a primetime slot against, on Thanksgiving. They came to play, and I was impressed with. Like, I don't think he turned the ball over this game.
Nope, no turnovers.
Yeah,
it's Toyota-thon, man. He doesn't do that kind of crap now.
Guy loves the Toyota. Like,
I don't know what it is. When Toyota-thon starts, he lights the world on fire.
Right. I mean, hey, there's something to that. So yeah, I mean, that was everybody thought that would be the most interesting. That was a closely looked at game. Like, spread of 3. Everybody was giving the Dolphins a shot. I didn't really feel – I don't think either one of us thought that way, but, I mean, it was kind of as to be expected and like in a pleasant way because, you never know what can happen, but it was they just came to play in all 3 phases, I think.
I agree 100%. And 0 sacks. And I think a big portion of, we're just talking about Jordan Love there, getting healthy. I mean, his mobility, it looks like it's there again. I see that throw he had to Jaden Reed, where Reed made a fantastic catch too,
Yeah,
one-handed
that was
thing.
crazy.
But I mean, to see Jordan Love roll out of the pocket, being chased, make that throw, and on the run, it just spoke volumes to when he feels good, it looks good. And he's able to throw through that leg. He's able to get out on that front leg and put some zip on the ball. He's able to get out of the pocket and be mobile. When he's mobile, when he's able to do those things, he looks good. And he's looking good. And it's putting people on notice. It's really putting people on notice. Like, hey, I don't know. The Pack might be back. Like, watch out here. So, I mean, it's good news. Good news for the Packers there. They get a big win against the Dolphins and sitting better than the Bears. I want to talk about that game there. Eberflus was fired earlier today here. Not kind of saw that one coming. I kind of did, but I kind of was not going to be surprised if they didn't fire him at the same time, just because I thought, the quarterback, or what's his name? Thomas Brown, the new offensive coordinator, has made Caleb Williams look a little bit better. So I was like, I don't know if they want to change up the locker room quite yet, because if Eberflus goes, Thomas Brown, if he doesn't get the head coaching job, who knows if the next head coach is going to want him, and then you have to change offensive coordinators again, and then it just creates this whole thing with Caleb Williams. So I thought maybe they'd keep him around just because of that. But, Aaron, this game, I mean, the Bears lost it in the most Bears way to lose a football game. Like, 34 seconds when he gets sacked. Now you have two options, which I guess I could be wrong. I would have burned the timeout, but also if you get back to the line, you set up a play, you run a quick play with, let's just say 20 seconds or whatever on the clock. And even if you stay in bounds, you get another 5-6 yards, whatever it is, whatever would it ended up being. You call your timeout, you get your field goal unit on the field, you kick the field goal, everything's good with the world. But it all went south. Caleb Williams is trying to get the boys back. The line's trying to tell guys to hurry. Caleb Williams is changing the play. Like, it's just a whole disaster. And at that point, you call a timeout. Like, at that point, you just say, screw it. Here's my timeout. At 12 seconds, you're just like, timeout here. Everything went wrong in that moment. And it all goes back to Eberflus. But, man, oh, man, like, I don't feel bad because his game management sucks. It does. Like, his game management sucks. But, wow, that end of that game was just terrible. It was terrible. Like, the Lions, they did not win that game. They did not win that game. The Bears lost that game. And also, before I forget, Jordan Love did get his turkey leg finally. That was great. That was great, great stuff there. Jordan Love didn't get one last year after they beat the Lions. I don't think the Lions wanted to give him one. So now he gets his turkey leg. Awesome to see Leroy Butler, Hall of Famer, Packer, former Packer, brings Turducken out on the field there for Jordan Love. Like, that was awesome. That was a great display. That was awesome there. So just didn't want to miss that because that was great there. But I mean, Aaron, this game, wow.
Yeah, I mean, wow is pretty much the only word you can say about that. The ending of it, it was just like, and we were going back and forth there. I definitely no, Eberflus definitely was more on, like, I don't know why. If you're Eberflus and you're sitting there, like, you had to at least have thought, if it gets to this point, I'm calling, like, you should be standing next to the ref. And then let's say it's 7 seconds, you're calling a timeout at 7. Like, for him not to have any barometer on, like, I'm going to call a timeout at any point, like, that is piss poor, like, that is just horrible. Yeah. So, I also, like I told you, I also thought, though, like, Caleb, it's like, where's the urgency? Like, snap the ball, snap the ball. You know what I mean? Like, get to the line, yell at your guy. Like, it doesn't have to be the perfect play. Just snap the ball. Like, you're in a position
of anybody. Keenan Allen has been there, done that guy. DJ Moore's have been there, done that guy. Like, somebody, not just the offensive line, somebody hustled to your spots because it looked like everybody was walking. It looked, I mean, out there weren't walking, but it just looked like it was so slow.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And even when when everybody got in position, I'm just like, okay, snap it. Like, Caleb had the chance to snap it there for like 4 or 5 seconds. And I think he's just like looking around like, okay, where am I going with? Like, it was just like overthinking, like, to the max. But you're exactly right. Like, there wasn't, I mean, to be honest with you, I think DJ Moore is like that guy. I mean, he lets his head get in the way a lot to me.
He looks checked out completely.
Like that play where he got the helmet pulled off and he chucks the ball like a a madman. Like
That was a terrible no call, though. That was
no,
terrible
it
no
was,
call. Like,
but
that was bad. That was
he
bad. Was that?
he's
No, that wasn't DJ Moore. That was Keenan Allen. That
or
was
Keenan.
Keenan Allen. Yep.
Yeah. But I was just like, man, these guys are like losing their. It just felt like there was no, and I get it. Like it's hard in
Yep.
the heat of the moment, but like the composure of everybody was just not there. And then Caleb Williams to me was just, I mean, handled that horribly too. But I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, what are you waiting on? Now you hold on to the timeout. Guess what? You never got to use it. So
Yep.
that one timeout you had, you probably should have used it. That's just a kind of an educated guess. Maybe you should have used it. I mean, if they kick the field goal and they miss it, I mean, so be it. You put yourself in position to win. Your kicker screws you. Whatever that happens. But man, the fact that he got, I am still kind of surprised they get fired too, just because they hung in there with arguably one of the best teams. And I mean, some people say it's the team that's going to the Super Bowl, the Lions there. So I know it's division, but man, to lose, it's almost worse to lose that way than. Like if they would have lost by 10, it's like, okay, well, Lions have been beating everybody by 10. So it's like, whatever. But man,
and it adds to the streak too. The Hail Mary against the Commanders, the blocked field goal, the overtime loss to the Vikings, and now you lose like this to the Lions. Like that's 4 straight games where you could argue the Bears could have or should have won those games where they lost. And if you take those 4 straight games, let's just say you give them 3 of them. Right? 3 of those games. They're 7-5. But instead we're sitting here and we're looking at 4-8. Like that's the difference. That's the difference between you beat the Lions, you beat the Vikings. Say you beat the Lions, Vikings, and Packers. Say the Hail Mary happens, but you win all those 3 games. What's the division look like now? The Packers you're closer to the Packers. You're closer to the Vikings. Like you're right there. You're right there. Instead, your head coach is fired. The season looks like a bust. And now you're shopping again with a rookie quarterback yet. You're still having a rookie quarterback, and you have to find a new head coach to try and come in and fix this mess. That's bad. That's just rough all the way around. So Bears lose to the Lions in that one. The Dallas Giants game, Micah Parsons still believes that they're going to run the table. You beat the Giants by 7. I mean, you beat the Giants by 7. Not a good game. Not a good game. We actually said that this one might be a blowout. And Drew Lock did not impress or deplete. He was 21 for 32, 1 touchdown. He did have that 1 rushing touchdown, so that made him look a little bit better there. But this was a game of I don't even know what this game was. This just sucked. It's just a terrible game.
And that pick 6 that Drew Lock, I'm not going to say, it was a bad throw, but like Dallas guy, puts his hands up, deflects it right to himself, basically. That was like, wow, that's the Giants season in a nutshell. But I almost think that, watching the Giants this year outside of a couple of games there, you can make the argument that Drew Lock looked better than Daniel Jones. Like, that's how bad Daniel Jones has looked. Now Minnesota Viking Daniel Jones, but it's man. I thought the Giants like at one point were going to find their way in this one and find a way to beat the Cowboys. I don't know that Cowboys running back though. He's starting to make a little bit of noise there.
I like Dowell. I think he could be a Dowell or Dowell.
Dowdle or something.
I don't know. It's something weird.
Dowell.
But I like him, and I got to be honest with you. I know the Giants did lose, and it's like it doesn't really look good. But I like that Tyrone Tracy. I think he could be a good back up there too. I don't think right now he's running behind a terrible offensive line. So you're like, is it? Could he explode if he had a good offensive line? I think so. I kind of like what they got there. So I think there's 2 good backs for the future on those 2 teams right now. So maybe we'll see something out of those 2 down the road here. But that was terrible, just terrible. And then, the last game of the day was the Packers and Miami Dolphins. And then we saw, it always seems like it's the Chiefs and the Raiders. If there's going to be a close game between a good team and a terrible team, it's the Chiefs and the Raiders. Like, the Raiders had a shot to win this football game. And you look at the 2 quarterbacks in this game, Aiden O'Connell had better stats than Patrick Mahomes. Like, how many times are you going to say that one in your lifetime? Aiden O'Connell, 23 for 35. He had 2 touchdowns. And then you look at Patrick Mahomes there, 26 for 46, 306, and 1 touchdown in this game. Like, you could say that Aiden O'Connell outdueled Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, absolutely. Yeah, he did. And isn't that so fitting that like their quarterback outduels Mahomes and they still lose? Like that is such a Raiders.
That's the Chiefs. The Chiefs just find ways. And that's good on your part. Like if you're a Chiefs lover or that's your thing, like you sit there and you say to yourself, hey, we can win football games when we look like this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I Chiefs could be down 40-0 and I'd be like, they'll find a way to tie this. Like you can't count them out no matter what the circumstance, like you just can't. And yeah, I mean, I kind of feel for Max Crosby. That guy absolutely gives it everything he's got. And I think I could be wrong. This might just be a hot take, but I know he's a trash talker to everybody, but I really think he like wants to just knock Mahomes out one of these.
Yeah.
Because they talk a lot back to each other. Like it's always a thing. And Max Crosby's that guy that will do anything to get under your skin. Like if he found out, your girl broke up with you or something, he'd point that. Like he is a heartless dude. Like he really is. I can respect it though. He's a D lineman. Like that's, you got to be gritty to play that position. But man, I saw him like in Mahomes' face multiple times today, just talking like trash. And it's great. Like, because there's guys out there that like won't talk trash to LeBron or won't talk trash to like Tom Brady. It's like, I like the guys that are like, you know what? Like you're a human being just like me, man. Like I'm going to come at you all day long and that's my job. So yeah, I hope Max Crosby gets out of there though. I'd love to see him go to some decent franchise, but man, I think Antonio Pierce, I kind of feel for him too. Honestly, I do, but they just can't figure it out no matter what. I think Aiden O'Connell might give you a better chance to win than Minshew right now, which I was a big Minshew guy, but he's not. I don't know. I think Jacksonville Minshew was his peak, and like he went to Philly, he looked okay. He didn't look horrible, but then Raiders Minshew, it just doesn't. Colts Minshew, like I guess I over projected him. Like when he was on the Jags, I was like, this guy is pretty dang good, and now it's like, yeah, I don't know what you get with it. I mean, the team's not good either, but Aiden O'Connell put up good numbers, so I don't know.
And I like Brock Bowers. I got him on my fantasy team there. He put up good numbers for me today. 140 yards and a touchdown. He's carrying. He's a good talent. I mean, and if they find a quarterback in the draft some way, somehow, and get some pieces in there, maybe they start to build and the Raiders start to look like something. Because you're playing in dogfight games like this. I mean, you put some good talent on the field, you might be able to put something together.
Do you think Tom Brady ever like just says, you know what, I'm gonna coach this team too? Like,
they might let him be the GM. Like, you look at him with the Tampa Bay. Like, he played it well, played it right. It's so stupid. They're going to overtime. Georgia Tech and Georgia.
Georgia's so lucky they're in this. I mean,
Georgia's just lucky they got more talent, because if without talent, they wouldn't win this football game. But, Aaron, we're at the 2-hour mark. Crazy night here. Holy crapola. We're at the 2-hour mark. But we got to get to our NFL picks the rest of the weekend here before we wrap it up and get the heck out of here for the night. So, Aaron, looking at the Sunday slate of games here at noon, we have the Chargers taking on the Falcons. That game is going to be in Atlanta. Spread's at 1. Chargers favored by 1.
Wow. Give me the Chargers here. I think coming off that loss to Baltimore, they'll be ready to go. Close game probably, but even on the road, I take the Chargers here.
I like that one. I'm going to take Chargers too. I just some with Kirk Cousins, that team, they just haven't been able to find it yet. Maybe they do, but they haven't been able to find it yet. And I like the Chargers, what they're doing out there. So I'm going to take. That's going to be in Cincinnati. And Bengals Chase to have a big day for my fantasy team there. But outside of that, I think the Steelers will win that game. Interesting. Cincinnati's favored by 3. The spread's at 3 right now. They can shoot it. I will say they can shoot it out with anybody. Can Russell Wilson lead good enough drives against the Bengals' craptastic defense to win a football game?
Most of the time I will favor a defense. Like if it's a good defense versus a good offense, I'll go with the good defense. Like I'll trust the good, like Ravens back in the day, they had no offense, but a great defense. Look, I mean, they were just, that's one of those teams that went on to win a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. Like that's an example of that. But I just feel like I do feel, I don't know. I feel like Cincinnati's going to win this too, though. I do. I just have that feeling where it's like they need, if they want any chance at all, like this is absolutely their season. Like if they lose this game, there's no way they're making the playoffs. So I just think with that being said, they're going to throw everything at the wall and see if it sticks on this one. It's a division game. I mean, these games, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh are usually great games to begin with. I just think they find a way to put up a ton of points. Pittsburgh doesn't. Not that Russell Wilson's bad, but he's not, Seattle prime Russell Wilson anymore. So maybe they'll struggle to put up as many points, and Cincinnati just finds a way with the offense because they're, like you said, their defense is not anything to write home about at all. So but give me Cincinnati in this one. I think it's close, maybe 3-6, like something like that. Yeah, I could see it.
That's a craptastic defense. Cardinals at Minnesota. The line is at 3.5, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to take the bold one. Give me the Cardinals to pull off the upset against the Vikings.
I almost think so too. Like I really, coming off that loss at Seattle, you want to keep like that division. San Fran's not out of it. I think, and we've been talking about the Vikings. They kind of been teetering with like losing. Like it's just they're finding ways, but it's like it's not like you're confident they're going to find a way every week. So yeah, give me the Cardinals as well. I'm on that with you.
Here we get this good some Patriots. Right now, Indy's favored by 2.5 in Foxborough. I'm gonna take the Patriots pulling off a little bit of an upset. I'm gonna take the Patriots pull it off.
Once again, man, I think we're in lockstep tonight because I mean New England. I know it's not Belichick. Belichick used to dominate like younger quarterbacks, but that defense doesn't go away. Like New England with a good defense is just a staple at this point. You can book it no matter who's coaching them, and I think Mayo can at least coach the defense well. So I think Richardson will struggle to find his way in this game, and they'll do enough with Drake May. They won't, blow the doors off of him, but I think the Patriots get it. I don't trust the Colts going up there against that great defense. It can be a very good defense and pulling it off either. I don't trust that.
All right. I like that one there. Seahawks and Jets. That's going to be at the Jets for that game there. I want to say something stupid and say that the Jets are going to pull off this game. I'm going to say something stupid here. I'm going to take the Jets to win this game just for the fact of it's going to keep them relevant in this world. Give me the Jets to win this game against Seattle.
I totally see it. Like I totally see it too. Like they're not mathematically out of it. I guess, so it gives, and Jets fans need that little bit of hope to like just get absolutely crushed once back down again. I'll go with you there too. I'm kind of hesitant. I'm kind of like feeling like Seattle will still, because you just can't bet on the Jets at this point.
No, nobody's putting money down. If there was money involved, I would not take the Jets.
It's almost like it makes sense for them to win this because it's just like that would be a Jet thing to do. So, yeah, just for the simple fact of that, yeah, why not Jets?
All right, there we go. Titans, Commanders, it's going to be at home for the Commanders in that one. I'm going to take the Commanders. I think the Commanders get a big win here against the Jets, or against Titans, sorry.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they find their way back. I mean, I know they haven't been playing their best ball as of recently, but Tennessee is rough. That's a rough team this year. And yeah, Commanders coming off 3 straight losses. I didn't realize that. 3 straight losses. Steelers, Eagles, Cowboys, back to back. So yeah, they need to find it, and they need to find it quick. So I think they will. I think the urgency will be there, and Dan Quinn will have them ready to play. So
I like that one there. Texans, Jaguars in Jacksonville. I like the Texans staying afloat there in the AFC South and holding on.
Yeah, neither team. I mean, obviously Jacksonville's not impressive, but we've talked about the Texans, how they have definitely taken a step back from last season. But yeah, Jacksonville is just I'll be shocked if Dougie P isn't fired after the season. That's just like writing on the wall, I guess, at this point. I don't know what you do with Trevor Lawrence and all that, but yeah, in this circumstance, I mean, they're coming off 4 straight losses: Packers, Eagles, Vikings, Lions. Why not add the Texans to the mix at this point with the Jags? They are Man, just when you thought they were turning the corner one of these years, not at all this year.
I like that one there. We got the Rams and the Saints. I'm going to take the Rams. Rams are going to win this game. It's in New Orleans, but I'm going to take the Rams to pull it off.
Yeah, it's hard to bet on the Saints at this point. Coming off 2 straight wins, but I mean, Falcons division game and then Browns are not very good. So, I think this could be a close one, I think, just because the Saints, sometimes they can play really good defense. But, give me the Rams as well.
All right, there we go. Buccaneers, Panthers, that's going to be in Charlotte for that game there, but I don't think it matters that it's a home game. I'm going to take the Buccaneers to win that game. They're getting a little bit healthier with Mike Evans coming back. I like the Buccaneers.
Yeah, you saw Georgia.
Yeah, scored. Sadly.
Give me the Bucs too. I mean, the Panthers have looked a little. I mean, I'll give it to them. They've looked a little bit better. Bryce Young and things, but I think Bucs are very hungry right now. They're trying to get right. And with Mike Evans, it's tough. That's a tough matchup.
Got to agree there. Next up, we have a big game. This is gonna be a big game on this day. Eagles, Ravens. That's gonna be in Baltimore for that game there. If they take advantage of the craptastic secondary that the Ravens have, I think the Eagles win this one. If they don't, I mean, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, they're gonna put the Eagles defense to a test in this one. Saquon Barkley's been fantastic. I'm gonna take the Ravens just because I think I just got a feeling the Ravens are gonna win this game. I just got that feeling.
I need the Eagles to win this because I'm just, like I tell you all the time, surrounded by Ravens fans. I'll never hear the end of this. I'll never hear that Lamar is like the best quarterback to ever walk the face of the earth if they win this. So, please give me the Eagles. I mean, I just hope I hope even if they have to lose next week to win this one, like just win this one for me, at least for my mental sanity at this point. But I think the Eagles do find a way. I just that Ravens secondary, like you said, is suspect. You're so right when you say this will put the Eagles defense to, like, this is a huge test. Like stopping Lamar, running the ball, and then stopping Henry. I mean, we haven't played the Ravens since the COVID year. And that season was Carson Wentz, and it was like 30-29 Ravens. Eagles came all the way back and then wasn't enough. But that was a weird game. So, I mean, this is not a matchup you see often. But yeah, give me the Eagles. I think it'll be a nail biter, absolute nail biter. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Ravens win either. This is a matchup. This is definitely a matchup. So, but give me the Eagles.
All right, there we go. Next up, we have the 49ers Bills. Looks better on paper than it is in real life. Give me the Bills to win that one at Orchard Park. It's going to be really snowy for that game. I heard there's going to be crazy snow out there. So I'm going to take the Bills to win that one.
Is Purdy playing? I heard he's like getting better, but I don't know if
he might be, but I just don't think it matters. Purdy expected to play. Williams, Bosa out for that game. So Bosa is still out. I like the Bills.
And Trent Williams. That's rough. Give me the Bills too. I think it'll be too much, and going up there and that is a different, like you talk about Green Bay, different type of weather. Buffalo is a different type of weather as well. That is just brutal to go up, and then a team like San Fran. Yeah, I'm glad San Fran's falling down like they are, but I don't see a way they pull this one off.
They get that lake effect snow going, and then it's game over. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, we have the Monday night game. We have the Browns taking on the Broncos. Wow. That's going to be in Denver. The line's at 5.5 right now. Give me the Broncos. Broncos are going to win that game. Browns, I think Jameis Winston will get them fired up, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's hard to completely hate on Jameis Winston, but I mean, Bo Nix has been playing good. That Broncos team's kind of find their way. Give me the Broncos. It's just going to be too much for the Browns. They chalk it up to next year already for them.
All right. There we go. So good weekend of NFL, good weekend of college football. We'll see if Georgia Tech can pull this one out here. going at they got a shot. They got a shot here. So still a little bit of a shot. Still a little bit of a shot there. So we got some good games coming up in college football. We have the Badgers coming up tomorrow here, taking on Chicago State at noon on Peacock. So should be hopefully a good win there for the Badgers. And we move on from that Badger football. We're going to talk about the rest of that crapola on a different occasion with them. Packers got the big win against Dolphins. They prepare now for the Lions coming up next Thursday there. So lots of good stuff there. Aaron, anything else you got to wrap us up for the night there?
I don't think so. I mean, it'll be interesting. I think NFL more so than – I mean, we've seen crazier things, though. Maybe this top 10 will shake up even more. We were definitely looking at Georgia going down, but we'll see. I don't know.
Georgia Tech puts her into the end zone in overtime here. We're going to overtime if they put the field goal through. So Georgia is on the ropes tonight, boys. Here we go. And girls, boys and girls.
And Carson Beck, I don't know if that's the guy you want with the game on the I mean, he's doing enough, but that's what I mean.
He's got him back to this point, but can he take him over the top there? We'll wait and see on that one. So with that, we hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Thank you for tuning in, as always. We hope you guys have a great rest of your night and tomorrow. But we will be back on Sunday when we will recap the rest of these games. We'll recap whatever the heck happens in this game between Georgia and Georgia Tech. We'll talk more Badgers. We'll talk more Packers. We'll talk about it all here on Sunday on the show. So with that, for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night and weekend. But until we talk to you guys again on Sunday, see ya.